Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget about peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
A deep, dark secret in the shadows of our very popularly received oral history is that the secret best producer that this show has ever had has been in disguise for many, many years. Billy Gill, always hiding in the shadows to do the important things that make our show the funny thing that it used to be back in its prime. And Billy Gill today has done me the favor. As for many years, he has simply been somebody who's been against me, rolling grenades, an anarchist.
I agree, Billy.
And I haven't been able to get him to serve many of these grid of death penalties over the years because somehow he's got all the power over me and somehow he doesn't have to suffer any penalties.
I'm the commissioner.
Or wear any costumes. And I'm in costumes 10 times as often as
Well,
he
you
is.
like it, I mean.
Yeah, it's a kink.
And finally, today, Billy is paying a punishment, and it delights me. It's the correct way to produce this show. So thank you, Billy Gill, for quietly in the shadows. It's not getting enough notice in the oral history. Billy Gill, secret producer of all the good things that have happened around here. Thank you for finally doing something that is meant to aid me as opposed to working against me. Good work, Billy.
Yeah.
What is the punishment you are serving today? What is that?
I have no idea. I'm dressed like a dinosaur. I came in and they said, you got to dress like a dinosaur today. And I said, you know what? Dan needs this. I'm gonna be a dinosaur today. I don't even know which team lost.
Dan needs this.
Dan needs a dinosaur today. I'm gonna be a dinosaur.
All right, Billy, this is what I need from you today, okay? If you could at any point before we get to the post game. I need from you today to go viral with a super serious take of some sort that is shocking and just really resonates and is given while you're wearing that costume. Tell me what guests I got to get you in order to get the proper amount of fame and awkwardness around it. But can you promise me that you will say something today with the attempt, or everything today, with the attempt to get you in costume to go viral?
I guess.
If that's what you need, Dan.
It is what I need.
Talk about the Gulf of America? What are we doing?
Well, yes. Well, so okay, let's not talk about the fires in California right now. Let's not talk about the Gulf of America right now.
Beautiful, man.
This is a serious thing I want to discuss with you guys because I have had trouble the last couple of days, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, honestly. I really am. More than a little bit embarrassed. I feel bad about criticizing Pat Riley, okay? And I'm going to explain to you something that's happening here that we work across from an arena that represents the single most successful sports story my city, our city, the only city I've ever loved, has been. It is excellence that stole the town from the Dolphins and put the standard at a place where it is, hey, it's not good enough to get a Jimmy Butler. We expect to have 3 Jimmy Butlers. We expect it all the time because that's what you did the first time in 2010. That's where the standard is. I can't even imagine what it is to be a Patriots fan today. Like, they must be punching themselves in the face about what this team looks like firing a coach after what it is they've known as excellence. But so I really admire the people across the street on how they do business more than I've ever admired anything in sports in the history of this city, and more than I've admired anything in the history of business in this city, because I know how shitty this city is at supporting things, and I know how excellent you have to be over a sustained period to steal the city from the Miami Dolphins.
You got a call, huh? I mean,
That's what it sounds like.
No, I will tell you. This is what I will tell you. I understand why you would come by that opinion. This is what actually happened, okay? And I will tell you the truth on this. I did not get a call.
Yeah.
I've been having trouble sleeping the last 3 nights for a number of different reasons, okay?
Riley's one of them?
The Godfather is not one of them,
Okay.
even though that is a crime family, and even though he is the Godfather and that nickname is earned. I have not heard from Riley.
Right.
It concerns me more than if I had. Allow me to make that clear again, okay? The best sports history business I have seen in this city is the crime family across the street run by the Godfather. Miami is the city I'm talking about. Has a certain criminal element. The crime syndicate across the street is run by a mafia boss we've been calling the Godfather for 15 years. And the people who have gotten here recently, loose lips with their criticism, are awfully comfortable telling Pat Riley he doesn't know what he's doing in his job as the head of the crime family, the Godfather. And I don't think it's wise for me to be doing that.
Or Mike?
Well, Mike, man, here's the thing, though. All right, what happened to me is I was thinking about this, right? I told you the other day it was one of the great honors of my journalism lifetime to have the specifics of Udonis Haslam and Mike Miller say, come on the OG's podcast, we want to talk to you. And then afterward have Udonis, of all people, say to me, man, I really like that. A guy I've covered since high school who, as a member of that crime family, the muscle for that crime family, can tell you that the soul of that crime family is that when Udonis' mother, she dies, and he's at her deathbed, the last time he sees her smile is when he tells her, I'm not going to Denver for $12 million more. I'm going to stay with the Godfather. And when she dies, the whole Heat contingent heads to Liberty City, and they help him grieve, okay? Pat Riley, I will tell you now, is somebody throughout my life who has been there in meaningful grieving moments, pushing me to be better, okay? As a person I've found deep, and I have also helped him through some difficult things.
That's all you're doing here for him. I mean, full circle. I mean,
all right, so
that's what a friend does for another friend, Dan. Riley did it for you. You're doing it for Riley. You can criticize. It's okay. You can take it.
No, but more than that. More than that, okay?
All right.
Because they listen to this show across the street. This crime family,
Right.
run by the Godfather,
Yep.
listens to this show across the street. They're listening to it live now. It plays in their building.
They talk about me, or
I don't know. I'm just telling you.
Hello, Heat staff.
Hey, Lorenzo, send us some free merch.
It does?
Yeah, we are the programming over there. The Heat watch this.
I gotta watch what I say.
Well, this is something
you're
that,
fine.
You definitely don't have to watch what you say. You got all the talking points out, Jeremy. We're good.
I was even-handed yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
This is the part that's uncomfortable for me to admit. And this is the part I genuinely need some therapy from the group on to walk me through this, because I know the Jimmy Butler stuff is interesting. And I genuinely ask the question of you guys and the audience. So where is the correct line on me being properly fair, also critical, and acknowledging that you've got 50 years of expertise on something that all of us would defer to as saying, that's more excellent at what they do than we are at what we do. And while we're entitled to the criticism, I'm not going to say I know how to do that job better than Pat Riley has done it. And so I can be a critic, But this is the part that becomes complicated. Tim Donovan, the public relations director for 30 years, who has served at Pat Riley's knee. Like, this is the maximum soldier. He is Udonis on the business side of being a Pat Riley guy.
Tim Donovan was with Pat Riley at the New York Knicks and came down, moved his life down here for the Godfather.
He's a made man.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, you used a few words to say exactly what I was trying to say. Tim Donovan, okay? I'm not even going to tell some of the stories here, okay? But my friends are afraid of Tim Donovan. Well, let me go another step here. The bald guy in security who ran over there to try to end the Rockets fight, and David, you've lost a step. You used to get there with your toes and knock everybody out before the thing started.
You're right. He used to get there quicker.
He has a name, huh? He's always just been the bald guy to me.
He big-timed me at a Moss event.
I don't like knowing his name.
Please give people more information here, because this is one of the more mysterious figures in the history of this mafia family. Like, I want people to know why I'm afraid right now of some of the things that I've done. I've already told you that this bald guy who's lost a step, that in the locker room one time, he sidled up next to me and put a finger in my elbow in a way that paralyzed the right side of my body. And it still hurt 3 days later, and nobody saw that he did it.
Put a finger in your elbow.
How?
He put it in here. And he grabbed me so hard with whatever it is his finger is made of that the right side of my body was paralyzed, but nobody saw it or noticed. I was in a room full of media people. He did it on the slide.
That's what he does.
That's correct.
He pressure pointed you?
Yes.
Where you just lose all
It
strength?
hurt so much.
You don't even know what's happening.
3 days later, it still hurt. Nobody saw it. He did it. I was in a room full of media witnesses.
He was just saying hello.
It was unbelievable. It was a warning, a clear and obvious warning. Roy?
Yes.
The Panthers in hockey is tough. The Panthers in hockey are not a crime family.
Yeah, but the champions.
It's honestly, when you said that you admire the Heat more than anyone in this market, like ever, and it made me think of what are the things in this market that you would admire. Like, I know UM in the 90s and 80s, like early 2000s.
UM early 2000s, UM in the 80s.
Outside of the
Dan.
Heat,
Right.
what have you admired in this market? Like, you don't have a lot of. I'm not saying you shouldn't admire the Heat, but I started getting made sad by the other lack of options or things you could be admiring.
Luis Arias not striking out a lot, maybe?
Bonifacio, that opening day.
Ooh, that cycle.
You mean to tell me the last 5 seasons for the Florida Panthers you haven't admired at all?
Lids isn't even selling Panther stuff down here. It's impossible to find.
You should admire what Bill Zito's doing.
The Panthers owner's name is Vinny Viola.
Yes, sir. And that's pretty close to me in the Mafia.
Okay, there's pretty close to being the Mafia name, and there's pretty close to being the Mafia when Udonis Haslam's your muscle. And the bald guy he made me surrender in the locker room, and no one saw it. But yes, that bald guy who does have a name, David,
Right.
he is somebody who's got a mysterious figure around the entirety of his aura. But Tim Donovan, who again is one of these Riley Mafia soldiers, I will probably betray a confidence here by telling you that Tim Donovan that he benefits greatly from the Riley associations of being able to dress well, because Riley's garment people have been famous since Showtime.
Yeah.
And this is a person who I love. And he's in charge of, right now, an empire that is going through an unprecedented turbulence. They don't have ever in their history. Shaq came down here, and when it was time for Shaq to go, Shaq didn't leave with the power. LeBron left with a lot of the power, but it didn't cripple the franchise. The franchise believes in the Belichick way of whatever. This is how excellence is made, LeBron. You don't make it for us. We make it for you. And in that earned arrogance, I'm hesitant to criticize people, not because I'm afraid of them, because I respect them. Because I love them. I don't want to pile on. Man, Riley gets the ending he deserves. Like, what the way Riley wishes for this to end with Spo in charge or whatever, they deserve that. This is a tribute for running a business well in a very difficult market for 30 or 40 years. I'm assigning that grace. That doesn't have a critic's heart in it, though. Like, the critic will tell you, breathe fire. Oh, you'll get all the clicks for just saying, oh, even Le Batard says Riley's washed. And when I'm not saying that. And I would never say that.
Why did you say that?
It's disrespectful to say.
can't
You
believe
spent
you
2
said
days
that.
saying it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Weird.
I didn't say it, Lorenzo. Send me some.
Dan, I am with you. There is no, and I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. There is absolutely no reason to criticize Pat Riley. Since 2007, they have been to the NBA Finals 7 times. They've won 3
It's
NBA
not true,
titles.
but Stugotz,
So
it's not
what if he's
true.
missed out on all the big free agents and he hasn't been able to execute a trade for a superstar? I
Right.
mean, look at all the stuff he has given us. Though,
And
you know?
so what that it was Dwayne Wade who got LeBron and Bosh to come here and not Pat Riley? None
Yeah.
of that matters. Riley was president while that was going down, while that was going on. And so he deserves our support. And listen, Jimmy Butler was a bad player when he got to Miami. Tobias Harris was chosen by the Philadelphia 76ers over Jimmy Butler.
He was not
and
bad.
what did Riley do with Jimmy Butler?
Bad player.
What did he do? He was a bad player.
He was not a
If Jimmy Butler was your best player, you were not a very good team. I am sorry.
Bad teammate, probably.
Except when he came to the Heat.
Why
And
are you
then all of
sorry?
a sudden, he became this amazing player. He has had the greatest 6-year run in his career under Pat Riley. He owes Pat Riley a thank you. Pat Riley does not deserve what Jimmy Butler is doing to him.
Correct. Pat Riley went out there and got him Jay Crowder, I'll remind you, and Andre Iguodala. So, like, this thought process that he didn't get him any stars is just absurd.
So we're with you, Dan.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat. So what if he drove Shaq out of town? Thank you, Pat. So what if he drove away LeBron James? Thank you, Pat. So what if he burned that bridge with Dwayne Wade and then had to go out there and repair it himself and then build him the ugliest statue we've ever seen? Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat.
This is a great chant, and I think we
Thank
should.
you, Pat.
I think that is a much better way.
Send us merch. Thank
Yes.
you, Pat.
Let's make. Okay, excellent, Billy. Thank you for
Thank
pulling.
you, Pat.
Yes.
I was inspired by Pat. That's why I did that.
You
Dan.
know what?
Thank you, Pat.
You know what? You got it.
Yes.
Let's right now, sell merch. Let's zig when others are zagging. Everybody wants to burn Pat Riley down. Let's sell merch with Pat Riley on it.
No. We want them to send
Thank
us
you,
free
Pat.
merch.
Yeah, no, but let's
Thank
also
you,
let's
Pat.
also thank you, Pat merch here. Go the other way. This is the most criticized Pat Riley has ever been in this town
Unfair.
because this town is spoiled. The standard is it's Eastern Conference Finals. Like that's where you got to be one of the Final Four teams all the time, and now at the end you don't look like you're closer. You've fallen behind. That's not good enough. If you don't look like one of the top 4 teams, that's not what the standard is. You've failed. It's noisy. I don't want to add to that any more than I already have. So is there a thank you, Pat, angle to this? Because as far as Stugotz has gone on this, Jeremy, even you were making sour faces at Stugotz saying that Pat Riley is above criticism, because I don't think he is. I'm just not comfortable being the messenger on being the viral one. Look, even Le Batard.
Playing both sides.
That's it. That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
Riley has done a tremendous job during Jimmy
Just end it
Butler's
there. He's
tenure,
done a
but
tremendous job.
I think it's fair to
No, it's not.
look at this
Shut up.
situation as it's blown up, knowing the risk that he took going into this season of keeping Jimmy Butler around when you knew he wanted an extension, and say, hey, if you were going to play it this way, maybe you should have traded him this offseason, maybe this, maybe that. Playing it out this way and trying to acquire more and hoping that the season would go the right way and that him playing more games would help elevate you in the East makes sense. Like it was a strategy that I probably would have taken too.
Can't believe you said that about Riley.
I can
you doing,
understand
man?
people having questions. It's okay to have questions. It's just the criticism is so nuanced. It's not as simple. It's not just black and white.
It's not nuanced. This guy.
I have an idea.
Oh, Lord.
He's new to this game.
I think we need to prove to
Nuanced
the
to this
world
game.
that this show values Pat Riley more than anyone else. So here's what I'm thinking.
You hear that, Ethan Skolnick?
Yeah, Ethan. Here's what I'm thinking.
We're the Pat Show.
The Lakers, so the Heat, what do? They name their court after Pat Riley, right? Except for the first, whatever that in-season tournament, they forgot to put his name on the court, and then they fixed that. And then the Lakers announced that they were going to build a statue for Pat Riley, I think, right? Didn't the Lakers do that?
Yeah, these were lovely legacy moments. In fact, can you video? We never got to that weeks ago, but I would like to. I would like to get to the Lakers moving Pat Riley by telling him they were going to build a statue, and South Beach Sessions will cover how moved he was by having a court named after him. But yes, he's getting legacy stuff that usually only comes with the eulogies.
I think we need to build him a statue first, or bigger. We need to do something to be the first ones to honor him, better than just putting his name on the floor where people step on it, which is borderline disrespectful.
That is a great idea.
Right, not enough.
You know what?
Enough.
Can they stop us from putting our own statue on their land across the street?
No, our land. They're not getting our statue. It's our statue. They're not going to take our statue and make it seem. This is a situation like where, for example, someone gives you a present for Christmas and then you say, I don't like this. Does anyone want this present? That's not what we're doing. We're not giving away our statue so they get credit for it. We're building our own statue, and it's going to be staring down the building. I propose that we make a statue of Pat Riley that is taller than the American Airlines Arena. Or we put it on the roof of the Elser so it's looking down at the AAA saying, I built you. I'm above you.
Let's do that. Find me the budget for it. Let's see if we get the city ordinances.
Jeremy, you don't have a job anymore. Sorry.
That's okay.
How was I the one carrying water for this organization? By the way, you guys have talked about me for the last 2 years. This is insane.
We turned it on you.
How did that happen? I want to do this, Billy. Find me what the budget for this is. I want to see what we can do about putting across the street a statue that more honors Pat Riley.
Across the street on the roof of the Elser overlooking the arena.
Exactly. Looking down at the arena. Right. Pointing at the arena saying, you're nothing without me. I'm the Godfather.
And he has all his rings on, right?
Yeah, of course. They're pointing, you see all the rings. And here's the good thing. The fact that it's on this building that's, I don't know, like 50 stories tall or something, it doesn't have to be that accurate because no one can see it from up close because you can't just access it. Yeah. So it just has to look kind of like someone that's pointing at the building.
Billy,
not too much like it that people think that it's like a threat and then they shoot our statue.
This is what I'm telling you.
We don't want that.
As a rising executive at Metal Art.
A dinosaur.
You are a rising executive at Metal Art. This is what I'm telling you. Find me the budget for that.
T-Rexitive.
Find me the budget for that. Find out what kind of city licenses we have to get.
We don't ask. We apologize after.
All right, fine.
Just ramp it after.
I'm just find out. Just make a quick check somewhere about what liabilities are. And I will give you a substantive budget as part of our 20-year anniversary celebration in order to make that statue at the top of the building that points down at Pat Riley but lifts him up and honors him up because it's a statue forever.
I would have been fired for that T-Rex executive line.
You know what?
He's right, though.
If I move, everything may lose its air and break. So if you want an inflatable dinosaur, we're going to have to stay put.
I wish to tell everyone here that I've got a problem beyond everything we just mentioned with what's happening across the street with the Miami Heat, in that Pat Riley is on South Beach Sessions this week. And I told soft-talking Matt Kugler, who left the Craig Ferguson show to have the world's dumpiest office here at Metal Arc Media.
Cougs.
I told Billy Gill's good friend Cougs that South Beach Sessions probably shouldn't put Pat Riley out this week because people will expect me to ask him about Jimmy Butler, and we did this interview 5 or 6 weeks ago. And so people will think I am doing a soft biographical interview, which I will say I was trying to do with someone I admire, doing what might be the last interview we do together after someone he doesn't do many interviews. He only talks 2 or 3 times a year anymore anywhere.
He used to come on this show all the time. You're saying he's doing less.
For many years now,
Okay.
he's doing less. Stugotz, this is really my conundrum. Okay, it's just a simply human conundrum. Okay, after seeing Pat Riley show up at the memorial, surprised me by showing up at the memorial for my brother. Okay, this is a man whose legacy I do not want to tarnish in this town or anywhere by adding my voice as noise to we know better than he does. Like, I get why we do it.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's unfair for sports to do it, but because of where it is, this relationship is personal. I have trouble with the objectivities I'm trying to aspire to.
That's why we're building a statue, roof of the Elser, pointing somewhere in the vicinity of the arena. But not at the arena, but staring down at the arena.
Looking down is the key part.
Right. For those of you who don't know, Dan has this is a friendship that he has with Pat Riley. It's not one of those relationships where I say, hey, everyone's my friend over at ESPN. Dan has a real relationship and friendship that has gone on for a decade and a half, 2 decades nearly, with Pat Riley. So I understand your conundrum. I understand what it is you're dealing with. But I think Pat would understand. He's been doing this forever, Dan. He understands the criticism, does he not?
Yes, Stugotz, here's the thing, okay? Yes, of course, of course. Look, my relationships with Stan Van Gundy and Pat Riley began, I would say, Jimmy Johnson as well, contentious, like I'm writing things that they don't like, and over time they learn to respect it, and over time a relationship grows from there. Wherever it is that it grows. But no, I've been very critical of Pat Riley in print, and my standard's not higher than his. He understands that the game is you win the championship or everyone gets to say you're a loser. He's fine with that. He made the standard. He said it. Like, he wins the second championship with the Lakers and guarantees a three-peat because he knows he's got Kareem. Different time, though. Different place. 78 years old, and I keep telling you, man, Stugotz, it's hard to do what ESPN does with Lee Corso and Dick Vitale, holding their hand at the very end and letting them dictate some of the terms because they've earned it. And I don't mean to turn Pat Riley into a mascot. No, much the opposite. This, in this sport, is the most respected thing. And he's hanging on to a way of doing it that ain't no longer the way because LeBron James and all that power took the sport away, and now you got load management and Joel Embiid and everything that's happening in the sport, and he's telling his superstar that you won't be traded, and then a few days later, oh, yeah, you will be traded, and now his superstar is saying, and there are teams I won't go to, and Pat Riley might try to spite him here somewhere by trying to send him somewhere, and he can't send him anywhere because Jimmy Butler's going to dictate the terms at the end.
But he's been to the NBA Finals twice in the last 5 years. Like, we're talking like the game has passed Pat Riley by.
Well, but I'd like a spot of nuance or degrees between those things, right? Between passed and by, fair criticism, and also don't disrespect this. Don't disrespect these people. Like, I know Spo has had some really bad moments this season. He has, but he didn't forget how to coach. Like, the game's ever evolving. He helped ever evolve it. Positionless basketball, and now the Celtics are better at all of those things. And I forgive them. I understand why you wouldn't. I forgive them for not having seen that coming. You come in here, you respect very few things in the world. You are disrespectful.
It's an odd introduction, I got to be honest.
Happy Annos, guys.
Happy New Anus to you, Amin. Please help soothe me as I walk back early in the week criticism, sort of afraid of the crime family across the street.
All right, so a couple of questions. Number one, Dan, you said in this segment, we're not going to, I'm not going to be the guy who criticizes Pat Riley or calls him by calling him washed. Like, you don't feel comfortable doing that. But you felt comfortable calling Tom Brady washed before he won like 3 more Super Bowls.
Yep.
Right? So why is there a difference between a very successful player and a very successful executive in that regard for you?
Thank you for asking for a distinction that would seem to catch me in a hypocrisy. I didn't call Tom Brady washed. I said that
You did. You said it was over. He's won 4 Super Bowls since. He owns the Raiders. He's going to steal Vrabel away from the Raiders, from the Patriots. Sorry. You said it.
I never said Tom Brady was washed.
Yeah, you did.
I said, no, this is what happens to me around here
I can't look at you.
all the time. I said that it's unbelievable that what I'm about to say got reduced to you said Tom Brady is washed, because this was the criticism of Tom Brady. I said all quarterbacks throughout history, if you get to that age, the drop is precipitous. Numerically, it's empirical. It is factual. All quarterbacks decline at that age. There is no reversing how that happens. But you wouldn't notice it in the uniform because the arm strength is going to look the same. And so the only way that would be perceptible is on the deep ball. And here are Tom Brady's numbers on the deep ball. They are not good. It is close to the end for Tom Brady. After that, he won all the Super Bowls. And I was wrong.
Throwing deep balls.
I was wrong about everything after that in a way that still makes the graphic amazing when I'm looking at it. And he's put up on the screen as a $375 million broadcaster who's terrible. And it says 7-time Super Bowl champion under his name.
He was better after you said the
That's
thing
correct.
that you said.
That is correct. That is correct. But what is absolutely so,
12-4.
you know what?
That Tom Brady.
You are totally right. I don't know what that was, but you are totally right on. It's as wrong as I've ever been on anything to even provide math that he might be in decline. I simply never said he was washed. I'm saying that like when you're looking at it, it's not something that you can decipher to the human eye when a quarterback is fading. Stugotz, I'll talk myself into Aaron Rodgers, what he looked like in 6 of the last 8 games of the season.
Right.
Like, you can't tell with that kind of greatness. It's not that overt where you're like, the guy runs out there, same uniform, same name, different uniform, but looks the same. I can't see when a quarterback who's one of the best ever is in decline, and none of you could see it either because he defied all the math.
Isn't it fun when you say something that logically makes sense, but then is completely disproven by one of the greatest performances ever, but people hold it up as an example that you're an idiot that doesn't know anything?
What is the fairest criticism of the Miami Heat? You have been very critical of Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo has been terrible this year. I am asking, how much flexibility do you have with an organization for not knowing fast enough that their 3 guys and the ceiling on their 3 guys would not be good enough if Jimmy Butler wavered? None of it would be good enough if Jimmy Butler wasn't surpassed as he aged by the acquisition of a player better than Jimmy Butler.
So this is what I would say, Dan. First of all, nobody's perfect. Like, there's a part of this where I'm sensing a lot of anger and outrage. I'm like, guys, the job's hard, right? Who's a guy that we all look at right now as perhaps the best general manager in the NBA? Sam Presti, right? Oh, Sam Presti that let James Harden go because he wanted to pay Serge Ibaka. Sam Presti who didn't trade Kevin Durant when he had a chance to let him walk for nothing. Like, everyone's got farts on their resume. There's nobody here pristine.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Does everyone have farts on their resume?
Dan, we completely glossed over the fact that Billy was big time by the bald guy. I mean,
Let me get back to it.
at a Moss event.
Let me get back to it.
I remember
now.
that.
Yeah.
So
Wait, you were there for that?
it was there. Of course I was there.
Wow.
I'm the one that told him to big time him.
Oh.
So the next part of this is something you said the other day, which was, this is the biggest mess in Heat history. And I would say Shaq threatening to punch Pat Riley, slightly bigger mess because of who it was and because of physically who it was and because it was physical as opposed to sniping at each other through press conferences. To me, that's the pinnacle of the biggest mess in Heat history in terms of player and Pat Riley clashing.
Oh, no, forgive me. I was just saying publicly. I wasn't saying privately. Look, wait a minute. Let me be clear on something else people might not know. This environment, what is across the street is a military school for millionaires where they surgically go from station to station getting the right medicine and science so they can be maximum basketball machines. What is across the street is a factory for how do these people get better at this, and then you see them get better at this. Like it's a weird thing. When I'm telling you, I can't tell that Tom Brady is getting worse, but I can tell, oh, Ware's pretty good. How'd that happen? How did that happen? Like this place over here knows how to make basketball players better.
And so, Dan, to that point, I will give you a positive that you said. You said this team, by and large, is a team of overachievers, which is suspiciously similar to something I said during the conference finals in 2023 when I said the Boston Celtics are clearly more talented, that the Heat have to do everything right to win, but they do, and that's why they won. And Will Manso and everybody else got mad as how could you say they're more talented?
Will Manso called out by name.
I'm just saying, and hey, Will, I love you, Will,
No, you
That's
did
how
it.
you
I
do
love
it.
Will.
Say it on the front end. Say it on the front end.
I'm
Wait till
no,
one
no,
hears
I'm
what
not
Dan
gonna say it
said
on the
about
front
him.
end because on the front end is what I'm saying is right. What I said right was back then, and I'm doing a little bit of a victory trot, not a lap, a victory trot, a victory trot.
I like that.
I don't want to do the.
Do we have a
sponsor-
victory lap today, Chris? We
God.
do have one. Okay,
You
you're
guys are
stuck
gonna
with
make me
it.
go run. Okay, but my point is, you were right, Dan, as I was 2 years ago. This team, by and large, what they built was a team of overachievers. The other thing that you said that was correct was, and a lot of people have lost that plot. When Jimmy Butler was acquired, you guys were like, why are we giving to Jimmy Butler?
Yep.
Da, 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 da.
Yep.
And this is just going to keep us middle of the road. I said, no, Jimmy Butler makes you significantly better. He is a superstar. But if you want other superstars, you have to start with one. And he's the one that you got. And so it was always about getting someone else, not getting someone, getting Jimmy help, getting someone that Jimmy could help. Now, along the way, there were some flirtations. Maybe Bam Adebayo is the guy. And Jimmy helps him, right? Maybe Damian Lillard comes. Maybe Kevin Durant comes. All the deals that don't happen, ladies and gentlemen, there are 8 billion deals a year that every team goes through where you almost, but you don't. And it's not anyone's fault other than this is a human business. I'm dealing with other general managers. I'm dealing with agents, and I'm dealing with players. When I was in Phoenix, hell, we thought we were going to get Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is literally at a party, All-Star Weekend in Las Vegas in 2007, going over plays with us about how he's going to fit into our offense. And then, Sean Marion's agent makes a hard bargain with Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge says, I can't do this deal. Our deal dies. Kevin McHale, his good buddy, says, well, what about us? And next thing you know, they do a 1-to-1 deal as opposed to a 3-team deal. This happens all the time. There are 8 million examples of this. And finally, when you think about, Jimmy Butler did this in the press conference and it's so embarrassing. You know what else is embarrassing? When Kobe Bryant stood in a parking lot talking to a 15-year-old on a flip phone, telling him, I need to get traded because they wouldn't trade Andrew Bynum for Jason Kidd. That happened.
You are talking about public and private, okay? Just to be clear, this is a notoriously private organization, right? It's not an information that a lot of information comes out on. So Amin is giving you there a Shaq story. The things that happen behind the scenes in this factory I'm talking about where they make hardened players, it is filled. And this is a feature, not a bug, with conflict. Those people have been toughened. Jimmy Butler has been toughened by an environment where the conflict is not avoided. The conflict is part of what it is that sharpens the tools. And so, yes, Shaq had to be held outside by security when he was let go because it had escalated to, Shaq, no, you don't have the power here. You're traded. And Shaq was used to having the power. And now Shaq's outside, like a lot of people are, with security because you can't just go back and get your things. But the arguments of Alonzo Mourning, think about what I'm about to say here, where Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning would tell you, yes, Alonzo Mourning, fueled by rage, would tell Pat Riley to his face, yelling and screaming, threatening to get physical, bleep you. And Pat Riley would say it right back. And Pat Riley's principle was, it's fine for all the bleep yous. Teach me something. Teach me something when we're doing that. You think that place got good at sharpening basketball players because it's gentle? And so a prideful man, Pat Riley, who built that environment, has just been embarrassed in public, a private organization, by Jimmy Butler, by the player taking the power from the organization, the way that's been happening for 14 years since LeBron did it first for Miami.
we talked about this on Basketball Illuminati this week, and I did the timeline of Jimmy Butler of who he is starting from JUCO all the way here. And at every step, there's a point where it's like Jimmy Butler says, I need to get compensated, and the compensation doesn't happen, and he's like, the hell with this place, right? In Chicago, he went from playing 3 minutes a game his rookie year to 82 games the next year to starting to most improved player and being their best player in 4 years. And they didn't offer him that extension, so he had to play and then get a restricted free agency thing. He had to wait for his money, and that obviously didn't sit well. And then they fire Tibbs, and they bring in Fred Hoiberg, and that doesn't work out. He gets sent to Minnesota. He helps revive Minnesota, but when it's time to pay him, they're like, I don't know. And so he says, get me out of here. He goes to Philly. When it's time to pay him, they say, Tobias Harris. And so he comes here. He gets paid. He gets an extension. He gets paid again. His deal's almost up. This is Jimmy Butler, and I don't say that begrudgingly about him. I'm just saying, like, he hasn't been duplicitous in any way. So for Pat Riley to kind of think, well, I'll just challenge him and it'll be fine, which is kind of like what Tom Thibodeau thought in Minnesota. It's like, well, Jimmy's my guy. He's fine. Once we start playing, he'll be fine. He's a little upset now. No, the guy wants his money. Pay him his money. And that's what Jeremy said the other day, which is if he had gotten an extension, none of this would be an issue. We'd be talking about, can we get a little better or whatever. We wouldn't be talking about Jimmy Butler wants to play anywhere else. This is all about him wanting his money.
I'm going to say this for a second time. I'm not going to say it again. We have glossed over Billy being big time by the ball guy Heat security. Billy, what the hell happened?
I mean, I don't know that this is the right forum for this. I don't want to, cause any rifts. Dan's going to lose sleep over with the Heat security guard because it's going to get back to him. He's going to say, what did Dan say about me now? And then he's going to poke him in the elbow again. It's going to be a whole thing. But if you must ask, and I must tell you, it was at the last Moss that we had with the big stage. You remember that one? Yeah. Where it was in Wynwood, I think? Yeah. So I noticed off to the side, the security guard, the bald security guard, was like just off the stage where we were, and he was like hanging out by the stairs. So I felt like kind of bad. I was like, why is this guy just hanging out by the stairs? There's this big crowd of people. Like, I wanted him to feel welcome, so I was trying to be like a good host. So I was on the stage, and I walked over to him, and I said, hey, good to see you. Like, thanks for coming out. Because I've been told that he's a big fan of the show. So I thought it'd be nice to just say, hey, thanks for coming out, whatever, so it's not just some guy hanging out by a stairwell, right? So he shakes my hand very nicely, and then I walk away, and I go back on the stage to do whatever we were doing. And then a report got to me that he then turned to the person next to him and said, who the bleep was that guy?
Yeah, he's terrifying, and I don't know why.
I wasn't terrified. I thought he was a dick.
He was one of the fans.
All right, I'll get back to him.
Come on.
He's
one of crazy.
He's one of those fans of the show that says they're a fan of the show and then says, I love the show with Poppy. It's like, yeah, that show doesn't exist anymore.
See, classic. That's what it sounds like.
Well, if you think my criticism is bad, we need to call Poppy. Poppy's got some thoughts on the Dolphins and the Heat, and the private phone calls I've had with Poppy have been he would speak for the fan bases of the Dolphins and the Heat in a way that's less compromised than me. He, too, is fed up not just with The Godfather. He's fed up with Spo, too.
Well, he's been fed up with Spo for a decade.
Oh, boy.
No, but it's worse than it's ever been.
Really?
Yes, it is. No,
How?
Please call my father, okay? I wish to call my father and get to the bottom of this. The phone calls I've had privately during the holidays with my father are the most poisonous sports phone calls I've ever heard, and my parents almost got divorced during the Shaq finals because my father spent nothing but the entire season complaining about Shaq missing free throws. My father wanted to fight Shaq the way that Shaq wanted to fight Riley. My father is the most spoiled of Heat fans. He told me he's been with the Heat all along. He's been with them since LeBron got here. He's the biggest of the bandwagon fans.
Can you be a bandwagon fan if you've been complaining since 2006? I feel like he's lost that. It's 18 years of complaints.
That's a typical Miami bandwagon fan. All he's done is care enough to complain. He's checked out on the whole season because they're 500 because he's spoiled, and they don't do him the service of filling his media potato chips bag full, and he goes to the owner of the team and tells them that they're cheap with their media potato chip bags.
We just closed the loop on Billy's awkward interaction at Moss Miami. Let's close the loop on Dan's Tom Brady take. I have a clip here from September
Excellent.
30th, 2014, 11 years ago.
There is no way there's no way I'm saying he's washed.
I'm pretty certain the Dolphins beat the Patriots like 33-20. And Dan said it right after that.
Let's let the clip speak for itself.
All right.
For the last 2 years, I've been saying, with much resistance, by the way, as they go to the AFC Championship game last year and go 12-4, that Tom Brady is washed.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you?
Wow. There it is.
2000 and what was
I told you.
that? 16?
Yeah.
2014.
Wow.
You had it first, Dan.
Across decades.
That Tom Brady is washed.
Is that even my voice?
You said it.
I can't.
What are we doing here? This is the Dan Le Batard Show.
Right. Whose
That's
voice would it
Dan
be?
Le Batard.
Right.
Is that Trey Wingo?
I
Who do you think it is?
legitimately,
Not your voice.
I legitimately cannot tell if the "is washed" is something that was even said by me ever. Never mind AI. Have I said it that way? Is that my voice?
That Tom Brady is washed, is in decline.
That
Chris.
Oh, man.
Chris.
That's what you
Delete
spent
that part.
Chris, that's what you spent the whole hour doing?
Who was that guy saying in decline?
Chris. Save it. Chris.
It's going to hurt him for days, Dan.
Chris, and I also heard a stray sound while I was trying to do the show that was something Tom Brady related, because that's the joke you've been editing for 60 minutes? That's how you've decided to do your job as executive producer today?
I think we're losing the plot here. Dan said it. We heard it.
I extended the clock by 10 minutes so we could cook some more on Dinosaur Billy.
I have an update on the statue situation. So
Oh, really?
I reached out to someone here who would know, and I said, "Do we have roof access?" And they said, "I don't know." That's the latest.
All right.
Some of the things I'd like to do over the coming days. I don't believe we use this building well enough. We've got rock climbing, we've got basketball, we've got whirlpools, we've got the top of this building and a statue we're going to build to point down at the arena. Greg Cody, I want in a whirlpool tomorrow, Whirlpool Cody, because I believe he'll be braver than Nick Saban, who's not brave enough in a commercial to be in a whirlpool without a shirt. And you guys are telling me it's about age and sun. Greg Cody's very old. He's very unhealthy. Greg Cody will sit in a hot tub, I'm guessing, with his shirt off because he's not afraid to be a coward who goes into the whirlpool with a shirt on the way Nick Saban is, as he's the protector of college football, but isn't brave enough to take his shirt off. So help me do that tomorrow.
Well, it's
you?
cold out. Do we want Greg out there in the elements?
He's not feeling well.
He's going to get out. He's going to be wet, and then he's going to get like it's borderline
It's a hot
freezing
tub.
right now. It's like
I think
62
it's a hot
degrees.
tub. I think it'd be lovely out there. It's a hot tub.
it is a hot tub, and it is glorious. It is massive. First of all, it's one of the biggest hot tubs I've ever seen.
But you have to get out of the hot tub at some point.
It's L-shaped.
Yeah, but no, this is look, man. The amenities here. This is a luxury hotel.
It is.
Stugotz. Like that's it. That hot tub is nobody's punishment. That's not. No matter what the weather is, that I would imagine Greg Cody would love to do the show from over there.
And the door is right by the hot tub. Yeah. You get out and like you just literally just run right inside and you're fine. So I don't think it's an issue. I do wonder though, are you pronouncing it whirlpool with a D in there?
No, whirl.
Okay. I was worried.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a good correction by you.
Since Dan said that thing about Brady threw 290 touchdowns and 78 interceptions.
That Tom Brady is washed.
Would you guys be kind enough to clarify a couple of things for me that I don't know whether we've gotten resolution on? One, the 12 days of Gregmas that we did over the holidays. Why were our listeners so mad about that? What happened? Where did we fail them? And why was it Jeremy's fault?
Well, it's always my fault, so I'll take blame on that one. We took episodes that were already in our Megaphone feed and rescheduled them purposefully with strategy for everyone to be able to have their special 10 days of Gregmas. Chris and I did some intros, but with Spotify and Apple Podcasts, there are settings within your podcast app that if you've either already listened to or already downloaded episode, it won't repopulate. And so, understandably, some folks didn't see it. They were upset. I tried my best on Twitter to give everyone the dates of those shows.
Okay, so unprofessional and unreliable by our organization.
Totally professional and reliable and well-scheduled and well thought out.
If anything, it sounds like it's the fans' fault,
Right,
honestly.
it's
everyone else's fault.
It's
and
their
we
fault.
provided them the information.
Stop listening, and then when Jeremy tweets, just watch all his tweets.
I think the fans were also
Idiots.
mad with us just being off. I mean, during a busy time in
Well,
sports.
I will tell you, we'll bring in David Samson now, and I've got a number of different things in sports to speak to him about, but he's just basically trying to improve our corporate climate, and I'm worried about that because he's the guy who says, hey, Mike Evans, you're not getting $3 million in incentives. I want us to be a company with a soul. David Samson does not have one of those. However, David Samson, I would argue, is probably right if he thinks there is nobody at our company working harder right now than David Samson. I don't know if he thinks that, but do you think that?
I would not pretend to try to guess the way that people work hard to do the number of hours they do with you, Dan. I can only tell you that your sleep habits with my sleep habits, with Skipper's sleep habits, plus all the other issues that are pervasive in the company of your creation lead to this. Lead to me sitting here since 9:40 waiting for you because that's when I was told to be here, and now it's 21 minutes later. And I don't have that kind of time to waste.
Billy was cooking on the heat. He had
Doesn't matter.
Me?
Well, it does matter.
He's
yes.
wearing a dinosaur costume, and he was cooking on the heat.
David, that's where you're wrong. Billy's words matter. They matter to this audience. They matter to this radio show.
How did this become a Billy thing?
I don't know.
I'm happy for Billy's words to matter as long as
This is
I'm
not-
on at 9:40.
This is not a Billy thing. Let's just be very clear. I'm dressed as a dinosaur today to make Dan happy. I don't control who's talking when.
You are making me happy. I believe, and that was very diplomatically stated by you, but David Samson is working very hard on nothing personal, on the sporting class. He's doing a number of different things to be valuable during a very valuable content time. So I ask you, David, in the proliferation of the business of podcasting, what are you fascinated by as you see nothing personal grow and an assortment of economies emerge where Billy is in the back saying, enough with all of these companies making content with their independent brands, enough content. I don't need more content.
So everybody needs more content. I think what you're finding is there's a great difference between people who have a name and then get money up front, and then all of a sudden there's disappointment when the production does not match the name. And so you're having a lot of people, there's no barrier to entry to start a podcast, but it turns out that the work ethic required, like what you all have, to do a show every single day for the number of hours you do, there's a huge value to that, as opposed to a famous person starting a podcast and doing it maybe once a week or every other week. It turns out that companies don't have the value associated with that they thought they did, because sponsors want consistency, continuity, and daily shows are way more valuable than weekly shows.
What would you say was the most interesting thing from the Golden Globes? We have not talked about anything Golden Globes related. I don't know if you guys think. Jeremy Strong is very self-serious, right? He is he in on the joke, or is he just self-serious? What are you shaking your head about, Amin?
Absolutely not in on the joke. Everything I've read about him is that this is a guy who he patterned his whole career after Daniel Day-Lewis, someone who famously takes himself very seriously.
Yeah, but he's a method actor. He takes acting very seriously, but he's not dressing as someone who takes himself very seriously.
For what it's worth, that silly outfit, he said he wore that specifically because he's always accused of just wearing brown and drab clothes. So he figured, why not do something kind of silly? Which is him trying to remake his image, but still at least trying.
He's a great actor. We can agree on this. Yes, he was exceptional and the star of Succession. If it wasn't Brian Cox, he was one of 2 stars on one of the smartest shows ever made.
Not only that, but what his performance in The Apprentice, what he was nominated for, that's a movie that for whatever reason people aren't seeing because they don't want to be seen as supporting Trump by seeing the movie, and it's a crime not to see The Apprentice. Both Sebastian Stan's performance, but Jeremy Strong as the attorney Roy Cohn, simply fantastic. And the outfit, it's the Golden Globes. He would not wear that. If he's nominated for an Oscar and those nominations are out on the 17th of January, if he's nominated in the supporting actor category, which would be an upset, I do guarantee you he will not wear that to the Academy Awards.
The other thing that I wanted clarification on, other than the 12 days of Gregmas that were clearly Jeremy's fault, people, I don't think, are believing that your facial injury was something that happened the way that you said that it happened, falling, running across the street. And it appears like you have had to have work done on your face because I can still see the swelling from a week ago. Like it seems like this was a horrible fall that you had.
The swelling is gone. I do have a pretty cool scar now on my upper lip.
Just his face.
Yeah. That's just,
Your face looks more swollen than it did. Okay.
He's just fat.
So does yours, Dan.
Holidays, Dan.
Thank you, Jeremy, but that's not what we're talking about. I didn't fall on my face. That's something you do around here.
It's the Monopoly hat.
But Dan, to be fair, there was, as I was nursing this injury over the break, I did feel like this was karma taking a big dump on me for all the Jay Leno stuff. Because I was kind of the loudest voice on Jay Leno owes money to the mob. And now I'm like, okay, maybe he just fell down a hill. You know what?
Well, people don't.
It can happen.
What is the fairest criticism? Billy, I don't know what you've heard. Do people believe? People are saying Amin got into a fight. Meadowlark's not talking about how Mike Ryan and him got in that fight, defensive about basketball, drank too much at the holiday party. Like, what's real and what's not real here, Billy? Is there some inter-office gossip around Amin?
Saw the bald guy around these parts that week, so who knows?
So
he touched his elbow.
Your face is not swollen.
I mean, like last time I
We're
sat
doubling
in this,
down on this one.
Last time I sat in this seat, I sat like at an angle because I didn't want anyone to see what my face looked like. I'm now staring right in the camera. Is my face swollen? Do you guys?
Yes.
It is?
The right side of your face, you look like a squirrel.
See, that's how you know. He said the right side of my face. The injury is on the left side. Full of shit.
With all these cameras, it could be the opposite, right?
That's right. It's a mirror. He
meant left.
Yeah.
It's opposite day too, yeah.
Wait, do you have a chipped tooth also?
Samson, shut up for a second.
Dan, he's been waiting since 9:40. Let's show him some respect.
Nothing personal except waiting.
It's opposite day is what you gave me from behind that dinosaur costume.
Who said that? I'm just here to help.
I keep making eye contact with the dinosaur eyes.
I wanted a microphone that I could hold up here to the mouth of the dinosaur for the visual joke, but I don't reach.
There's no joy in the joke for me when I can't see your face and see how happy you are at being the asshole. Because it's opposite day is the worst you can do, Billy. Like, it's opposite day.
He's got an ear-to-ear smile underneath that thing.
Me nothing, and I can't even see your smile.
I was trying to help Samson, believe it or not, because he got the wrong
You
side
were
of the
trying
face.
to help. Samson, what do you make of what's going on with the Raiders? What are the most interesting business management leadership stories going on right now in sports to you?
Well, the number one thing in the NFL is the desire by all of these owners to come out with statements when they're not making moves or when they are making moves, and the strangeness of the timing. The whole Antonio Pierce thing I take great issue with. Nothing happened from day one postseason to day two postseason where he did a press conference and then got fired the next day. You don't make a decision like that after the press conference. He was fired before they let him do his postseason press conference, and there was no reason. What, they couldn't get to him? They couldn't find him? They couldn't reach him? It's embarrassing. And then they leak out that Tom Brady is going to be very involved in the new coach and in the search for the new coach. Guess what? Tom Brady's running that team right now, and the NFL knows it, and Fox knows it, and something's got to give. So enjoy Tom in the booth because you're not going to see him there next year.
Whoa! What? Whoa. What?
Where's he going to be?
What?
He will be in the Raiders front office. He will not return as an analyst for Fox. You cannot be this involved in the operation of a team and be the number one analyst. It is an absolute insult to analysts what he's doing, and it's an insult to team presidents what he's doing. You end up doing both of them in a mediocre way, and I assume and I know that I promise you.
Wait a minute. Which is it? Wait. Get
Do
it
you
right.
promise or do you know?
Come on,
Right.
David.
Yes.
David, get the dismount right, please. Do you know it?
Damn
Do you assume it? Do you promise it? If you're going to give us the soundbite of saying something no one else is saying, can you do it correctly, please? Nail the dismount.
4869. Tom Brady will not be with Fox next season. He will be full-time in the Raiders front office running that team. Period.
Ooh, a period.
Oh, my God.
Period.
That's a punctuation.
Wow. Oh, my
He
God.
hit us with a spoken punctuation,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. That is broadcasting expertise.
But it's still a guess, right?
It's still a guess, but it's an assumption, but he's promising you. It means nothing. It's like he said game over the other day, and it means nothing. They're just words.
Did he say period? I mean,
Let me stick up for him for what he said the other day. All he said was, if it wasn't approved, then people are losing their jobs.
Agreed.
Not like,
Wait a minute.
hey,
So for those who don't know, Mike Evans got a $3 million bonus. Jesus, I mean, not everyone listens to the show the way you do.
Sorry.
Mike Evans gets a $3 million bonus on the field, and what David Samson said about that was that if management didn't know and approve all of that, and it cost them $3 million, game over. There would be penalties. It's just a fart of wind came out
he
of his
wanted
mouth.
the Bucks to release him before the game.
So this is the part, though, right? This is the part to me that was more interesting about what he said and what he didn't say. I don't think David Samson would have approved that moment if he were running the Bucks. He would have told them to bench Mike Evans. And so that is a joyless.
He would have cut him before the game.
That is a joylessness that I was stunned by.
David, let me stick up for you here and say the Bucks needed to win that game in order to make the playoffs, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So there's no way you would have said bench Mike Evans in a
course
must-win
not.
game, right?
It's idiocy. You're all talking. It's hurting my ears, your inability to understand the nuance of the comment. And if you want to make it a bit, if you want to do whatever you want to do, I don't care. Of course he's going to play in the game. They've got to win the game. You got to win the game. You're not doing it to give him the extra $3 million. That play at the end was a risky play. That's why I wouldn't have done it. Before the game, I would have said in the normal course of the game, if he gets it, he gets it. But we're not going to hand it to him.
What's the value of one playoff game? Like, is it worth $3 million?
Are you on the road or are you home?
If you're a road team,
They're a home
They have a
team.
home game.
no. But in this,
They're a home team,
Okay,
Billy.
but hold on. In this hypothetical situation, you can decide paying a player a $3 million bonus or having one road playoff game. You're never going to have any home playoff games. Do you bench him to save the $3 million because you won't make it back?
I want the playoff game because there's a chance to make it through the playoffs, and there's a huge benefit the following year in it when you increase your season ticket prices, increase your corporate prices. So I want the playoffs way more than any personal records for players. You want playoffs. All that matters is playoffs, and then all that matters above that is rings. The rest is just noise and individual accomplishment that adds up to nothing.
I will tell everybody, as I always do when David Samson is on with us, that on Nothing Personal, he covers an assortment of subject matter that I know our audience and in general sports audiences would eat up because they have a business acumen that's unusual. And if I explain to my audience or our audience well why it is they should care about what's happening with the Padres right now, I am promising you that David can produce for you a gossip that people usually like around money and power and transactions, but I don't think the American sports media covers very well this stuff. So, David, please tell me why we're covering what's happening behind the scenes with the Padres so poorly when that seems like something that the general audience would want to know about family dynamics, because as soon as we tell you that Woody Johnson's team is being run by his teenage sons, all of a sudden everyone's interested in how rich people play with their toys.
Yeah, there's some family stuff that goes on that we do talk about, like the whole Broncos situation. When Pat Bowlen died, there was tremendous fighting with the family, and it forced a sale of the team to the current owner, the Walmart guy. I'd like to talk about the Padres because Peter Seidler, the great man and a great friend who I've known for a long time, died young, 63, 3 young children. He was trying to create the Dodgers in San Diego. He did it in a way that was fiscally irresponsible but full of love, and the fans appreciated all the signing of the players. But once he died, there has been now a reduction in payroll, a return to responsibility, and now there is a fight. And this lawsuit that was brought by Peter Seidler's widow against Peter Seidler's brother is a cautionary tale about what happens when someone dies young. The wife is claiming there's a piece of paper that shows that the control person, meaning the person who should own the team once Peter's dead, is her. What the brothers are saying is, no, Peter was very clear. The person who should be running the team is me, meaning one of the older brothers. Here's what's not being discussed. Every team has to submit a succession plan to Major League Baseball, and it's true in all the sports. There is a plan in place for what happens when a controlling owner croaks, whether it's sudden or whether it's at the age of 120. And that succession plan is done in concert with a legal succession plan, like a will or a trust. And so this lawsuit has a very easy solution. And the succession plan for the Padres included his brother being voted shortly as the new control person. This is a frivolous lawsuit, and it's a sad lawsuit because she is painting the brothers as racist. She's trying to appeal to the fans, saying, why would you hurt a wife and a widow and 3 little kids? But it ignores the truth about how succession plans work.
David, last week or on Monday, you told us that you were going to come with a list of the players that you found ways to get out of giving them bonuses for. Do you have your top 12?
Top 12.
So I made a decision on that, Billy. Thank you for asking. There's really one that I want to talk about only, and I'll tell you, and I'm just going to mention it and tell you why. We had a player named A.J. Burnett, and when we had A.J. Burnett, he was young, he was brash. He got a tattoo the day before a start, and it impacted his start. He was that kind of immature. He then, of course, matured, and now he's an amazing father, an amazing guy. But he had a contract that had a level where if we started him 1 extra game, he would have gotten a payment. So we gave a start to a pitcher that no one knew, but was a high draft pick of ours. And you may know him because he was the starter when Marlins Park opened in 2012. Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson received as a young player a start when A.J. Burnett could have gotten that and could have gotten paid. And that was pretty much the end of our relationship with A.J. because he knew what had happened, and we let him go. As you all may recall, we did not sign him. We did not trade him. We let his contract expire and moved along from him. But that was an example where we were pretty honest with the pitcher, explaining that we were not going to give him the ball again, and he and his agent were less than happy.
Do you know what the bonus was? Do you remember?
Of course he does.
Yeah, it was around, call it $100K. I mean, after taxes, whatever, $70K.
This is the guy who's in charge of cleaning up the company.
You just took that money from him. This was a pitcher who threw a baseball at a truck and at a mascot, correct? While in warm-ups, he was.
That was before I got to Miami. That is a famous thing that he went after a truck behind the plate. People confuse that. You see the video here. Yeah, this is purposeful. When you're A.J. Burnett, you do not miss the catcher. That encapsulates, the picture is hitting a truck. We actually had an argument with players when they would break stuff about how they would pay for it, and we ended up just taking it out of their salary because we paid them every 2 weeks. But when they would do equipment, what we would call an equipment mistake, which is hitting a TV or breaking a window purposefully, we would charge them.
I just want to tell. Can you guys just look up for me this information? Because this player he speaks of, what a bygone
so good
golden age.
Yeah.
Go look up the stats on his no hitter.
He had 9 walks.
Or 11. Threw the ball really hard, got tattoos, broke trucks, got
nipples,
suspended,
too,
pierced nipples. Yeah.
He had the second most walks in no-hitter history.
What? How many? 9 or 11? I thought it was 11 because all it was throw it at your neck or strike out. And everybody was up there was afraid because he threw too hard. And back then it was about 97. Oh. Back then, 97. Now it's 147.
Every single player for the other team except for the pitcher reached base at least once.
Yeah. Nice.
But how many pitches did he throw? Do you understand?
129 pitches.
It was
7
9.
strikeouts.
It was 9 walks. I have confirmed that.
Thank
yes.
you. Nice memory, Stugotz.
Thank you.
I would say that David Samson would tell you that way of pitching, that he was purposely trying to injure A.J. Burnett's elbow in that game by making him throw 129 pitches.
He either walked or hit by pitch every position player in the opposing lineup.
Wait a minute. So was it 9 walks and 2 hit by pitch? Is that what it was? Did he hit? Was it?
There's your 11.
Steve Martin.
David?
Yeah, you may not remember. He was not part of the rotation when we won the World Series because he had Tommy John, and he was out for the season, which is why we had Mark Redman and why Dontrell Willis was called up and ended up starting those games. So he still got a World Series ring. The players still voted him a share, but he was on the injured list the majority of that season.
Did you call him Redman?
Why'd you call him a Redman?
Redmond.
I love
because there's Mike Redmond and Mark Redman. So that is, we make the distinction and we talk that way.
But I think he would say it's Redmond.
I love his album with Method Man. Perfect person.
Yeah, Redman is offensive.
No, it's not. He's a rapper.
Whoa.
Dan.
It's his name. It's a compound name.
That's not his name. Redman is his name. It's not Redman.
It's not Mike Redmond.
Oh, we know it's
No, it's
spelled
Redmond.
Redman, David.
It's
but
Redmond.
No one ever said Redman.
It's Redman. It's not Redman.
It's a whirlpool.
He listens to the show.
What are you reviewing today for us, Samson?
I'm reviewing a documentary called Chasing Amy. I am very hopeful that people in the room have seen the movie Chasing Amy, which is a Kevin Smith vehicle.
It's great.
I can't imagine I'm the only one. You and I, Dan, but Amin for sure has seen Chasing Amy.
It's one of Kevin Smith's best, and Kevin Smith's best over a 3-year period would have been as good as anybody's.
It's probably his smartest movie.
It was a movie that had a very interesting theme, which is, can you make a lesbian not a lesbian? Can you somehow get her to fall in love with you as a man? And that's what Ben Affleck was trying to do to Joey Lauren Adams, who was Kevin Smith's girlfriend at the time. This whole documentary is about how people are viewing that movie today, how politically charged it actually was, how it may not have spoken to the LGBTQ community in the language that they wanted to be spoken to, yet for some portion of the community, it spoke to them absolutely directly, and to others, it turns out it was super divisive. And I engage with that movie in a totally different way, and I always have engaged with it differently. I engage with it as the love story that I've always been searching for, not having anything to do with LGBTQ. And the Jason Lee character as the roommate, who there's undercurrents of homosexuality and all sorts of things that happen like that. Speaking of working, do you want me to get the call from the boss at Meadowlark? And so
all
I would
sorts
tell
of
you,
things like that is the phrase you tried to use after homosexuality.
I thank you very much, Dan. Thank you for that. I hope you clip that.
No.
I'm trying to not step in it as someone who it would be looked at as a middle-aged white straight guy.
Go take the call. It's very
I'm
important.
not taking it. I already hung up.
Oh, no.
Obviously, somebody's not watching the show live.
No, don't say that.
Don't do that. What happened? Is it who's calling you? Who's trying?
the brand.
Who is calling you right
the
now?
boss is calling.
The boss is calling you.
Bruce Springsteen?
You're talking to him.
I do believe that was me.
What? No, I thought you were talking to him now. Who are you talking? Who's calling you? I'm not calling you.
I do apologize, David.
What do you mean the boss?
We like that fun here.
Dan, you butt dialed me.
No.
Oh boy.
There's a fine by the way for that now.
Nope.
What do you mean saying to my face the boss is calling you?
Yeah.
I am doing my best to juggle the amazing intricacies that exist in the world that you've created. And when I say the boss called, whoever I speak to at any particular moment, I view as the boss.
Is it Sedano's mother?
That is
It was
well
Will Manso.
well played by David.
Owes me apology.
See you later, Samson.
See ya.
At some point, thank you, Amin, for coming in and immediately shuffling papers when they're counting us in and trying to keep the sound pristine. Excellent start to the segment. As always, we appreciate the drunken meanderings of one Amin Al-Hassan when he comes into town and graces us with his expertise.
I've been dry since the holiday party.
Way to go.
Did you learn something? Are there more parts of that story that are unknown? Because as an adult man, you probably shouldn't be drinking so much that you fall on your face.
That's not what happened.
Whoa.
Right.
That's not at all that happened. I fell, and I haven't had a drink since. I did not link those two things together.
I've fallen.
We all have.
After the Christmas party and drinking too much?
Not that night, but
didn't drink too much. I wasn't the one doing shots out of a hockey stick.
No, that was me. I wasn't the one falling on my face and needing surgery on my lip.
Well, I didn't need surgery.
shots out of a hockey stick is just a funny
sentence. Yeah, it's great. I remember, please get the sound and the video of one of my favorite moments of the holidays ever that I've experienced, which is Roy Bellamy staring as David Dwork does shots with Greg Cote at the holiday party, and a real moment of camaraderie is lost between Roy and his hockey host because Greg Cote, an older man, has stolen David Dwork from him. I've rarely seen anything funnier than that. And now, all of a sudden in the new year, Roy is shaving off his eyebrows accidentally so he could keep up with the younger man, Greg Cote, in keeping David Dwork's interests.
I haven't had a drink since July, so
Wow.
July?
July.
Since the Panthers won the cup?
Amazing.
Yeah, since
That's
my birthday.
crazy.
It is crazy. Yes. Very crazy.
Well, you're, again, making the holiday party about how you didn't have a drink and, again, boring us with tales of how it is that you're dry. I saw the look on your face. You were jealous because Greg Cote was having more fun with your co-host. It was not about the liquor. It was about David Dwork.
It was about the liquor.
Yeah, are we
I
sure?
wanted to drink.
Roy hasn't drank since this happened.
All right, we have made it from Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
Roy still doesn't think that's funny. You understand why it's funny, Roy? Because you sound drunk even though you're denying you're drunk. You keep saying, I didn't have anything to drink, but there's the proof.
All right, we have made it from Baker Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
You understand? So you deny that you were drunk, but it's very clear through the sound that you can play again here, Chris, that you are clearly drunk. This is how a drunk announcer would sound.
All right, we have made it from Baker Arena to the infield, which is a couple blocks down.
I did not have a drink.
He was euphoric. It was a big day. The Panthers won. Ice Cats.
He was drunk on hockey, Dan.
Yeah, euphoria. Today, me and Roy played tag in the morning. It was fun.
Also, sometimes people stumble, Dan, without alcohol being involved.
Yep.
It happens.
It happened to me. Yeah.
Happened to me.
Ludicrous.
I would argue that one of those stumblings is what you just did in not listening to what it is that Billy just tossed you that you ran right past and couldn't even tell me what it is right now.
I believe that's a $7 fine for me to the Venmo fine bucket. Has anyone contributed yet?
Yes, no, we have not.
Okay,
We've
I'll be the first.
All right, we've got a new fine bucket. It's $1 for a mistake. It is $2 for coughing and phlegm, $3 for pestering, $5 for tone, $7 for not listening, $10 for phone interruption, $50 for death, and fines are doubled on Tuesdays when Greg Cote is here.
The Venmo fine bucket. Love it.
It's at Billy L. Gill. Just send the
Oh,
money
no.
that way.
I send it to the bucket. I don't send it to you.
Oh.
From the maker of It's Opposite Day.
Which is January 25th. We looked it up.
Oh, it was early. Is it a leap
man.
year?
Ooh, I can't wait.
Why was it different this year? Must be like Thanksgiving.
From the maker of It's Opposite Day. I mean, I'm going to give you the information, and you're going to see the errors of your ways, and I think the $7 not listening fine should be doubled.
What?
Well, I think your reaction
It's only on Tuesdays with Greg. I mean,
I think
Or January 20th.
your reaction to hearing for the first time what you should have heard, because listening is an important feature of this show, is the follow-up questions I assume you're going to ask when I tell you that Billy Gill said that him and Roy played tag this morning. You didn't even hear that.
No.
Was it
Not even
phone
close.
tag? I hate phone tag.
No, I don't. Was it?
I hate it.
I assumed it was actual tag, and I was shocked because Roy playful during a dry time is not something that I can imagine in my wildest imaginations.
Yeah, Billy ran across the street and tapped me on the back. That's tag.
Yeah, so what happened was...
Sounds like
So
Roy's it.
Yeah, you're it.
He is it. So that's exactly what happened. Is so we have to cross 2 different streets, and there's cars coming, but there's a crosswalk that tells you time's counting down. So I was running to beat that, because if not, you're there for like 20 minutes, and it was cold this morning. And I saw Roy, so as I ran past him, I tagged him. I said, "Tag, you're it," and I kept running. And then he just gave me a death stare, and I realized Roy doesn't want to play tag right now.
Irony, that's exactly how I fell. Playing tag.
Who were you playing tag with, Roy?
With Roy.
Really?
We were both dry.
So Roy was it when I tagged him then.
By the way, it's timeout. You can't tag me.
From the maker of Its Opposite Day. Billy Gill tried to play tag with Roy. Roy was not feeling playful. He was also not feeling playful when this happened at the holiday party, where you can see for yourself that he is jealous, and this is not about being dry. This is also not about I haven't had anything to drink in many months. This is everything about David Dwork and Greg Cote are drinking shots themselves, and when you focus in on Roy's face, you will see there that there's nothing but horror, and I see jealousy there. Billy, do you not see jealousy there? Because you were shaking your head. I could see you shaking your head here earlier in the segment, even though it's hidden behind a dinosaur.
I can't see anything, Dan. I just asked who's the 4th person.
The zoom. Now, here's the thing. When they pull the hockey stick back, though, if you let it watch, his eyes follow the stick. So I'm going to side with Roy. He's staring at the alcohol.
Yes.
Damn right I am.
He's envious of other people getting drunk.
Exactly.
Yes.
Let it run. Run that video again. And then watch as the stick gets pulled back where Roy's eyes follow. He doesn't stay on Greg Cote and on Dave. It goes with the alcohol. Boom. Shots up. Roy's staring. Stick comes back.
You're
Yep,
right.
You see that?
You're
See where his
right.
eyes go?
Is it possible Roy's mad that they wasted a perfectly good hockey stick? Because he told me this weekend that he's learning to skate to play hockey, so I think that now he's in the zone.
Wow.
Yes, I am. I have hockey equipment. I'm learning how to skate, and hopefully that because the Panthers are going to host the Winter Classic next season.
You're playing?
I'm not playing in the actual game, no. But
you
it
have to
might be
cut-
a media game, so I'm
a media game. Wow, interesting.
Sounds dangerous.
Right. Who's the best hockey player of all the media members that you're aware of? Is it Minervini? I think he's pretty good.
Mini, yeah.
Minnie's good. He plays pickup hockey.
Probably Ed
his son's a goalie.
Probably Ed Jovanowski.
Will Mansell?
Yeah, that's
Well,
probably a good idea.
non-former player division, right? Because we're not going to do Randy Moeller. We're going to do media members who aren't. We have not talked enough about that team. We're going to do it again this season. The thing that I want to ask the group here, because this is a fairly fascinating time in Miami, and I'm guessing that the majority of the audience, if they're not already tired of us talking for 2 days about Jimmy Butler and Tyreek Hill, will soon be tired of it. But it is super.
Don't leave out the Padres.
It is super rare. You guys weren't interested in that story, huh? No,
I mean, Super Wild Card Weekend is coming up.
Let's talk about it February 11th after the Super Bowl.
It's always interesting to me though when you guys are interested about money. Like you guys are, it really is funny to me, right? Because Jimmy Butler, Tyreek Hill, it's all money. It doesn't matter. When it's that, you're fascinated. But when it's the big money, when it's the money that families fight over, and Woody Johnson is making his teenage kids the team, then you don't care unless I give you the details of, oh, rich family treats the whole thing as a stupid toy. Isn't that funny? How they ruin Aaron Rodgers at the end because it's a rich family's stupid toy.
What about me makes you think that's funny? I mean, I represent Jet fans here. I am the only Jet fan here. None of it's funny. I've known that for 2.5 decades.
This is the part that I'm fascinated by, that I want to talk about with you and Amin, because I don't get it as a content strategy thing. I've been telling you for years that when John Skipper and David Samson talk with Pablo Torre, the amount of business information there is something that the business world is chewing up, because they can't believe that's out there and for free, a knowledge of how it is to dominate the sports business. What do you mean you can just get that expertise by downloading 50 minutes because we cover it very poorly in sports because in the mainstream media, we obsess about the Tyreek Hills and the Jimmy Butlers, and these owners hide in the shadows, and we don't know anything about them, and they are these shadowy creatures that are covered very poorly until all of a sudden Donald Sterling stumbles into it for the 7,000th time, and
Then
they can't
we care.
and then
Right.
they can't hide it anymore.
Well, then I'll say this. There's two reasons for that. Reason number one is there's a dearth of people who actually know these things, right? David Samson, me, Mike Tannenbaum. I don't know. He's not on ESPN anymore. Like the number of people who work in front office and are willing to speak frankly, not just.
That's the big thing, though, that I'm telling you is
Right.
on the Sporting Class podcast, where it's like this information, nobody gives it publicly. How it is these commissioners get run through on these TV contracts because people keep assigning some strength to the people running college football, and they've been played for fools already by the money.
Now, the other side of this, I'm going to say, is part of the grander problem I think about sports. And I talked about this to you when Georgia Tech was playing Miami. And I said, it's so fun just to be a dumb fan. I don't know who the AD at Georgia Tech is. I don't know. I just know that my team's going to kick your ass. And that's kind of what makes the whole business work, is a bunch of people who don't ask too many questions about where is this money trail headed.
This is one of the reasons, though, Stugotz, that I am super interested in the way all of this stuff is covered, because we can all agree, right? Whatever you think old-timey television soap operas are, this is the place where the men have the most permission to be just interested in all the little soap opera things. What is Tyreek doing with his Twitter account? Like, we can sink right into all of it freely. I want the juicy drama on everything. And so in Miami right now, we have two star players fighting over what is a giant amount of money for them and not a giant amount of money for the guy who runs that franchise into the ground and builds F1 arenas and runs this economy in the neighborhood all around him into the cemetery while growing something that he profits from greatly, that he will have a succession plan for, but will end with Tyreek Hill and Jimmy Butler no longer being in town and us talking about the small little money details without caring about the real money.
I don't think people, to Amin's point, and I'm with him on this, people really care about the ownership, how they go about running and operating their team. Like, people only have so much that they can be concerned about, only so much bandwidth, only so much they can pay attention to. And the higher you get in sports, Dan, the more tricky and complicated those discussions get. And people aren't in on tricky and complicated conversations when it comes to sports. They have enough of those in their life with their family, with their job, with work, with all of that stuff.
But how about the interesting parts?
They
of the
just want to
conversation?
fire a coach.
But you're interested when Woody Johnson's kids are involved, and you're also interested when I tell you the story.
I'm not, though.
You're interested when I tell you this story. You're going to tell me you're not interested in Woody Johnson's teenage kids are running the Jets, Stugotz?
I'm interested in the Jets finally being good. I'm interested in the Jets finally making a Super Bowl. I'm interested in the Jets drafting the right quarterback. Those are the things I'm interested in. There's nothing I can do about Woody Johnson and his family. He owns the Jets. What am I going to do about it?
I think, to Dan's point, it's infinitely more interesting and noteworthy when the franchise in question has a history of being awful. Jets, that's interesting, right? We care because the Jets, awful for a long time. Laughing stock. Right?
Browns.
Donald Sterling, easy. Browns, easy. Padres, I don't care as much. Heat, Dolphins,
You
even?
may not care about the Padres. The Padres were a game away from changing the entire way the last baseball season ended and have been playing the big money game in a way that's confusing 4 or 5 years.
We're back to the Pods. Huh?
The reason that I'm coming back to the Pods is because there are ways to make this interesting, and one of the ways I would say even Stugotz would be interested is when Keon Dooling gets on to Mickey Arison's boat with Shaquille O'Neal, and says to him, Shaq, you ain't rich. This is rich. I thought people were interested in the amount of money at the top of the food chain that ends up controlling all the other money while we talk about Tyreek Hill and Jimmy Butler wanting money they're not going to get because the owners in power are better at these games than the players are.
Dan, I'm going to say it again. Unless it comes with extended ineptitude, fans don't care. They're more concerned about the product on the field. I'll give you a great example. A guy that we talked about a lot, not just we on the show, we across basketball media talked about a lot for a long time. Jim Dolan. Jim Dolan, worst owner. Jim Dolan, worst owner. Knicks got good. How much Jim Dolan talk have we had?
None.
None.
Right.
Because now the product is worth talking about, right? Jeannie Buss and the Buss family. Oh, my God, that's soap opera. It coincided with the Lakers have been bad for a long time, right? All of these things are conjoined.
I mean, I'll take that one step further. If the Knicks win a championship, they will praise Jimmy Dolan.
I don't know about
no, they
that.
will. They will.
They'll praise Leon
They
Rose.
have short memory. They
won't praise the owner. I'm talking about the fan base.
Right.
The fan base will praise Leon Rose. They'll praise Tibbs. They'll definitely praise the guy who gets the most praise is going to be Jalen Brunson, because again, that's what the fans connect to. What's happening here? It's almost like, you know how they say, like, in football, like the quarterback's supposed to be the smartest guy, and then the next smartest guys are the offensive line, and then the farther out you get, the more kind of specialized people are. It's the same thing. The closer you are to the action on the court, that's where the fans put the importance on. The players, number one. And if the players outside, then it's the next thing is the coach. And the next thing after the coach is the general manager. And the owner is far, far removed, and often on purpose. Sometimes you get a Mark Cuban, you get a Jerry Jones, can't help himself in front of a microphone. Go, I'm the star of the show. But for the most part, I like Miami Heat fans. How many times have you heard what Mickey Arison's voice sounds like? You have no idea. They have no idea what he sounds like because
Sounds like this.
Well, actually, that's not what it sounds like. I promised.
Oh, wrong, Mickey.
I promised Mickey Arison a long time I wouldn't play this sound anymore, but now it's too good to not play because it is one of the great
Gonna
classics
get another call, Dano.
in the history of the show.
Another
And now-
sleepless night.
Yeah, well, now we are again. Now you see, you guys, man, you guys.
Us guys, we're trying to build Pat a statue on the roof.
Yeah.
I actually approved the budget for that during one of the breaks.
Oh, thank you.
I got a counter. They said, "What if we put it on the pool deck?" I'm like, "No, roof."
I think the pool deck works.
Ooh, I'd rather the pool
Looking
deck.
right down
No.
at
Right
it.
there on
Billy-
that balcony.
Billy, stay strong.
Where
Roof or bust.
There's 49 floors on in this building.
yeah, that's why.
Billy, right where you did the yoga in the intro, right there, that's perfect. My idea is to have Pat from when they lost to the Knicks in 2000 and he had his hands against the wall like that, but just on the balcony overlooking the arena.
I want, please get me the sound, Chris. This goes way back in the library. It is some precious, precious sound. Look, I'm going to tell a couple of stories here to explain to everyone here.
Be careful, man.
Okay, all right, but look, this is a good story I'm about to tell. I've never told this story before, and I legitimately do not know what I'm about to say, how it is that it happened. Okay,
I'm going to move my mic away because I'm not going to interrupt this story.
okay, but if you guys want to understand how it is that money moves are made and why it is that I'm telling you, man, shouldn't you be more interested in how it is the big money plays, okay?
Oh, he took his glasses off. I'm moving my mic away.
It's a good story. That's a good story. I don't know whether I should tell it, but now we're here.
Oh, you're telling it.
So when you say that people do not know what Mickey Arison sounds like, he did an interview with us during the height of the Big Three when any aggregated thing would make a mess for everybody involved. And he said, among other things, some form of, well, what do you want me to do about where it is that Chris Bosh can or can't go? I can't control their freedom. It's not whatever it is, wherever it is we were, slave days. I don't control freedom. That sound never got out after being live. People couldn't access where that sound went. They were asking me if I had covered it up. I didn't know where it went. It disappeared from wherever the places are that stuff would make an appearance. And I've never heard it since, and it never was a thing because it was simply live and then vanished. Something that was our sound that would have been an aggregated national controversy that the Heat did not need just vanished in ways that I don't understand.
I know how it vanished. The Fixer.
Oh, boy.
The bald guy?
Oh, what? You know it.
So many calls.
Do we have that sound? Can we play it?
What sound?
Oh, we don't have it. Okay, it doesn't exist.
I don't know because Chris Cody, the sound that I'm talking about, I don't have that sound. I don't know where that sound is anymore. I don't know. That sound disappeared when it happened, and I didn't understand why it happened, and that never became a thing, and we never talked about it again. The sound I'm talking about predates Amin. I don't think Amin knows what we're talking about when we reference one of the most famous sounds in show history that involves Mickey Arison. Chris Cody doesn't know what it is that I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Yes, you do, Stugotz.
I do know.
Stugotz.
I do know.
Stugotz.
I know.
Do you not know?
Is this the expose where he admitted to putting air in chips?
Yes.
Stugotz, you don't know the sound I'm about to play that I have told Mickey Arison that we're not playing anymore because it's a problematic sound.
Mickey Aaron chips, man. That was a good day. I do know the sound. I'm aware of the sound, yes. I'm just scared for you to play it. Yeah.
I just want to hear his voice. I don't care if he talks about the weather.
Chris can't find it because he doesn't know the joke I'm talking about. After Mickey Arison is not a public speaker, okay? So he is outside this arena here, and there's a parade full of people out front, and the slogan for the Miami Heat at the time is "Stay White," and.
Oh, no, it was white hot.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I just can't believe that nobody around here knows this story. It's like one of the most famous in the show's
Well,
history.
clearly I know the story.
And I'm surrounded by people who don't know this story when it's sound that vanished that the people around here should know the story.
Well, you're telling us the story.
We moved our mics away.
How am I telling a story that is one of the most famous in show history that no one here knows that story? How is it possible when everyone here knows the story?
I think we're trying to figure out which story. Is it the Stay White story or the sound disappearing story?
Because that story was leading us there.
The
to
sound
that
disappearing
doesn't
story
exist.
is not something that any of you knew.
Correct.
The other story, no, don't tell me to stop banging on the table when I don't understand. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary, and I got a room full of people who don't know the most famous shit we've done.
But it could be a you problem, not an us problem.
It could be.
We're all confused.
Admittedly.
Yes.
I do want to refer to the Venmo bucket fine chart.
Tone?
Tone, $5.
Yeah.
So
lucky you didn't do it on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Do you guys not understand why this would be just exasperating to me? Here's the story. And forgive me for getting it wrong the first time. I am really in a state of discombobulation because I can't believe our crew doesn't remember big moments in show history.
Let me move my mic away.
The owner,
We don't know which story.
The owner of the Miami
I'm
Heat
moving the mic away.
was speaking in front of a whole lot of black people during a parade. The slogan for the team at the time was "White Hot," and he told those black people in an echoing way that sounded like a Klan rally in an auditorium to stay white. Stay white.
You've heard the voice.
Thank you. Yes.
But whose fault is this?
I mean, come on, man.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
We have a victory lap to get to, and also I need to understand from Billy and others if we're going to involve Matt Kugler, soft-talking Matt Kugler, new producer of South Beach Sessions, if we're going to involve him on the decision-making that is, do we air Pat Riley this year or this week, or do we not air Pat Riley because we did an interview for South Beach Sessions? But before I do that, I have to go to Billy. His costume is falling apart. His day is falling apart. His time has been falling apart since he took the manager special. Please, Amin, stop fiddling with your microphone.
Sorry.
Your only contributions to the show at beginning of segments is to make noises that distract me.
Sorry.
I just hit you guys with an epic I happen to know. A truly epic I happen to know that Amin did not happen to know, even though it's one of the most famous moments in show history. An echoing stay white, but because Billy's costume is falling apart, I would like, before he falls apart for the rest of the day, for him to explain to us why he is claiming that we have been betrayed by our people.
Well, okay, so this is what's happening here, and I don't know if you've caught on to you may have felt this for some time, Dan, is I'm realizing we do shows in large part for entertain, at least in my view, to entertain the audience, entertain the masses. So sometimes we say things that, maybe we get involved, we get excited, and we say things that you're like, okay, it's fine, whatever, to joke here or there. And then it'll just go away. The people will hear it, and we'll move on, and we'll go on to the next thing, right? What I've found is that our social media department likes to clip those things and put them out there to I guess, clickbait and really cause problems for all of us. And it's happening more and more to me lately. Like, the more excited I get about certain things and the more personally I say certain things, I realize they're just cutting these clips of me saying not so nice things about a lot of people, and eventually it's going to come back to bite me. And I'm not a fan of this. And I sent a strongly worded text, and I said, yeah, what are you doing here? And then they said, do you want us to take down the Mario Cristobal clip? And I said, no, I don't care about him. But in the future, this may come back to bite me. Maybe let's not continue to do stuff
Billy,
like this.
Thank you, Billy.
We do this to Chris Sims all the time on God Bless Football. Billy.
Well, I mean, he has it coming. Come on.
Billy, I thank you for making that complaint a public one. I have had it about our company and our people for a while now. Very often the things that get clicked are things I've said that come back and have haunting results, like Warren Sapp, if he sees me in public and thinks that I said he has bad breath when it's only Stugotz who has said that he has bad breath, or when I get a beer bottle broken over my chin because people think I'm responsible for the Pell Grant scandal at the University of Miami, because you guys have said I'm responsible for the Pell Grant scandal at the University of Miami. I have human cost that is on my chin, a scar on my chin from a beer bottle that I was hit with. Our people are always betraying us, and Billy, in your case, those social media people are awful. They are aggregate whores.
Terrible people.
They don't care. They're shameless. They want us to get in trouble and cause us problems. I'm watching a Jerry Springer documentary on Netflix on the problems that producers caused at Jerry Springer by not taking any responsibility for the fact that they were doing dumb shit with dumb people. That's what we do around here. Mm-hmm. You guys are going to get me and Billy harmed in today's America by getting your clicks this cheaply. My tone is shit today.
Yeah.
But
Get
$7. Yeah.
Get the phone out.
$5.
The Venmo bucket. Yep.
Yeah.
We had a situation where the 2001 Miami Hurricanes wanted to come and fight Dan not too long ago because something someone said on this show.
You called the ball guy an asshole before. I mean,
No,
you're-
I did not.
you are-
First of all,
He's playing with fire a little
I
bit.
said dick.
oh, I'm sorry.
Dick Sporting Goods.
He just thought his name was Richard.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
He didn't know until
He didn't
Dan
know my
said it.
name either, so it's fair.
If you want to see the bald guy in action at a Miami Heat game, you should go to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Dan. We're going to get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. What time is it? It's game time.
Terms apply.
I was going to say, well done, right up until you. Well, you know what you did.
Oh.
We were, Amin and I were having a funny conversation. Dan just left, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, that tone fine really got to me.
I don't think that really falls under the Venmo bucket fine chart here, where
It does.
if
It
you
says
have bad
$5.
tone, pay $5, don't leave the show.
There's
How's
got to
that
be
sound?
there's got to be a higher. There's got to be two tone levels, right? There's one that's a regular tone,
Right.
and then there's what Dan just.
And
did.
there's Dan Tone.
Yeah, Dan tone's got to be more than $5.
Do you double it every time there's a tone fine in one show?
Well, I was
So
gonna.
the first fine for $5, but then the second time there's a tone issue, now it's $10.
Fines are only doubled on Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Repeat offender.
Complicated.
Yeah.
An opposite day, you take money out.
When is opposite day?
January 25th.
Okay.
This year.
Leap year? Anyway, we were talking about Todd Bowles.
Why?
Because we didn't want to talk about the Padres anymore.
That's a good point. But that's also a good follow-up question.
It is a good question.
And his question is kind of the answer.
It is.
He's the coach you never hear about.
He's the coach that no one cares about.
Bang.
He's the coach. How?
He has a sweet spot.
How?
You know,
in the NFL, can a coach live in a space where it doesn't matter if he wins or loses? No one is saying Todd Bowles needs to win this game. Todd Bowles is on the hot seat. Todd Bowles could coach the Buccaneers for the remainder of time, and no one would care.
Stugotz, let me tell you right now, he's in what we like to call the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right? A little bit to this side, now you're Sean McVay, now you're Shanahan. You've got to be a genius. You got to do something. A little bit to the other side, you're an idiot. How do you still have a job? When is the guy going to get out of here? The sweet spot, nobody even brings you up.
You know what I'm thinking? It might be because Baker's polarizing. If you have a polarizing quarterback, they kind of take all the attention. We don't really hear a lot about when you're talking about like McDermott, like
Right.
Josh Allen. Everyone talks about Josh Allen has to do it. No one talks about McDermott. Lamar Jackson has to do it. No one talks about Harbaugh. I think that's going on here. Everyone's kind of focused on Baker, and they don't really look at Bowles as much.
I would say if Lamar Jackson, if they lose to Pittsburgh, let's say, John Harbaugh, who's won 2 playoff games in the last decade, 2, with a 2-time MVP, by the way, he'd be in trouble.
But you hear more
No, he's
Lamar
not in
needs to do
No?
it. You don't hear John Harbaugh. You
you do
think
hear
of
Lamar needs to do it.
You think
yes.
of Harbaugh as one of the better coaches in the league. I think you're wrong. I mean, maybe some noise would start, but he's definitely not losing his job.
Did you guys see what happened with Mike McCarthy yesterday? So Mike McCarthy, everyone assumed was done. They were just going to let his contract expire and he'd not be the coach of the Cowboys anymore. And then the last couple of weeks, it was like, well, maybe he's done enough to keep his job. And then yesterday or the day before, the Bears requested to interview Mike McCarthy for their head coaching vacancy, which every team just is always like, yeah, okay, you can interview them. And the Cowboys said, no, you're not allowed to interview our coach.
They have to keep him now, right?
That's what it would seem like they're thinking of doing for some reason.
It's amazing because they only have until the 14th, right?
Yeah, it's only like this week. If not, then he can just go and interview with him anyways. So I don't know what they're trying to accomplish unless they sign him to an extension like in the next couple days.
Billy, that story fascinated me to no end yesterday. I was watching it unfold because I'm like, on the one hand, it's the Cowboys. Like, what are you doing? Either you want them or you don't want them. On the other hand, if you're the Bears, do you really think you need to get the jump on talking to Mike McCarthy? Like, if we don't talk to him now, by the time he becomes a free agent, he'll be gone by then.
But how happy was Mike McCarthy that they made that call?
I kind of feel like that's Stugotz, follow me if you will.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's a phone call you pick up and you say, hey, guys, I need you to do me a solid here.
He knows someone in the Chicago organization.
Look, you guys don't have to offer
me some leverage.
Yeah, don't offer me the job. Don't offer me the job. Just ask to interview me.
It'd be funny if it was like Mike himself, like called. He's like, hello.
Throws his voice off.
Yeah, hey, I'm calling from the Chicago Bears. We would like to interview Mike McCarthy, please.
The only way that could be funnier is if his voice sounded like Mickey Arison's in that clip.
Like this?
I can't get enough of. It's not what he said. What he said obviously is funny, given the context that Dan provided. The thing that made me collapse with laughter was the echo, the reverb on that voice. And I laugh hard because it makes it sound so much more ridiculous. But the other reason I laugh so hard.
Greg Cody, major penalty, 5 minutes,
That's me.
maximum.
What happened?
You did it to yourself?
You hit the button?
Accidentally. Accidentally.
They were fined for that?
Thank you for scaring the shit out of me.
Mistake, $1.
But yes,
Yeah,
that
that's
would be
a mistake.
$1.
Yeah, that's $1 right
Hold
there.
on.
Yeah,
There we go.
$1.
Let me open the
Venmo
app.
bucket. Yeah.
But the other thing that made me laugh uncontrollably
About this?
is as I'm on the ground laughing, I started thinking to myself, what if that's how Mickey Arison sounds like not talking into a mic? What if his voice just echoes and booms like that? Like, good morning,
Like a
morning.
mic
morning.
voice?
Yeah. Like that, it just drove me insane thinking about that. But yeah, Billy, Mike McCarthy, that's what I want. I want him to have that voice when he calls up the Cowboys. Hello, 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 hello.
But, I mean, I want you to understand this, okay? Nick Sirianni is the only coach in Eagles history, to coach that organization to the playoffs in his first 4 seasons as the head coach. If he loses to Green Bay this weekend at home, he's going to get fired.
That's his ass.
Todd Bowles loses this weekend, he'll be right back there next year. It's unbelievable.
I'll give you another name from history. Eventually, time caught up to him. Jeff Fisher?
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher was kind of in that sweet spot.
Yes.
Like, good enough.
Yes.
But not too good where we're like, hey, we have expectations.
Right.
But not bad enough to like, this guy's a bum.
And the crazy part is that their defense, which Bowles is a defensive guy, is not good. Like, if there's anything good with that team, it's the offense.
He's 1-2 in the postseason. They won a Super Bowl with Arians as the head coach. Brady was the quarterback. Bowles is basically, I mean, they made the playoffs 3 consecutive years, but he's 1-2 in the playoffs. I don't know what's going on in the Tampa sports market on Tampa Sports Radio, WDAE, the sports animal in Tampa. I know.
Wow.
I'm a local sports junkie. I am. But I don't know if they're passionate enough. It has to do with the city and the division, right? It must.
No, I don't think it's an organizational thing. I think he found the sweet spot. We all seek the sweet spot.
Is it his voice? He's got a very, like, soft-spoken voice. Maybe it's just, like, we don't think about him because he's just under the radar.
You tell me it doesn't echo? Stay why?
He doesn't get too emotional. He doesn't talk very much. He just kind of stands there.
I have one clip of Mike McCarthy talking, by the way.
I think just standing there is the key to longevity in the NFL.
Butterfingers.
Remember we used to have him on every year just on
McCarthy,
Halloween to talk about Halloween?
Butterfingers.
Yeah.
We used to have a lot of people on this show.
We did.
Man, that was a time. We used to get people.
What happened?
We still get people.
We get people.
Oh, I have breaking news to share with you guys. Just a tease of sorts, if you will.
Who do we have today coming up?
We secured an interview for God Bless Football that's going to air on Friday with Todd from JoshAllen.com.
No way.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Todd.
Yeah.
He has since I reached out to him, raised the price of JoshAllen.com to $300,000 now.
Attaboy.
We're making him money.
Put him on the show. The market just went up.
I'm very excited for that, Billy. I have many, many questions.
I just saw Billy raise his. What does a T-Rex have? Would that be a claw? Is it a hoof?
No, it's a paw.
A paw?
Yeah.
Okay. I just saw he raised it, and I was just like, what is that thing?
Stugotz, you asked the question that I thought Billy was going for.
What?
So who do we have today?
Yes, because Amin made the statement, we used to get big guests around here. Chris says we still get big guests. Who do we have today?
We have a weather expert coming up next.
Butterfingers.
Because Padre talk wasn't enough.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I saw a great item on the internet, and I don't know why it is these things always suck me in, but they will every last time suck me in. And I know Amin will appreciate this as someone who cares about the movies. Somebody just started a thread of best movie weapons of all time. And once
Rocky's fist.
Once I saw you're terrible at this game, have been since 1978, because your every reference is Rocky related, and it's not the way to play this game. You haven't updated your movie references since 1978, and you're proud of yourself for doing it that way, and it stinks. It stinks like Trey Lance stinks.
And also, numerically, we proved that Drago's fist. More deadly.
Yeah,
steroids.
Yeah, okay, there it is. So, but when I saw, and this always happens with these kinds of games, when I saw what I thought was the best nominee, I'm like, well, no one's going to be able to do better than Anton Chigurh's weapon in No Country for Old Men, where he's using a silencer that is meant to, I guess, debrain cows or something, and it's just an amazing movie weapon from one of the most amazing movie villains there's ever been.
How about Rambo's machete?
How about Will Smith and Men in Black being able to get your memory all gone with one push of a button?
Not a weapon.
The neuralizer?
That's a weapon. I mean, it's not a
weapon.
It's a device.
Didn't in one of the comic book movies, spoiler alert, someone just snap and half the people died?
Avengers?
Is that a weapon?
Thanos killed half of all existence with a finger snap. But I kind of feel like the glove was really the weapon. The Infinity Stones was the weapon. And then he used
What is the best movie weapon of all time? So if I ask you guys, is there a consensus on this? My wife selected the bowling pin in that Daniel Day-Lewis used to kill on the bowling alley the pastor. What is his name? What is that? It's not Thanos. It's Nanos or something. What is the name? What is the name?
Nanos.
Yes,
What is the name of the preacher man that Daniel Day-Lewis killed with a bowling pin? It's a good nominee for my Dark Princess wife.
Thanos Jenkins.
How about the bald guy's finger?
Again, from the movies, Stugotz. From
Real life.
anything from the movies, Stugotz, that's not Rocky. Help yourself to anything.
I gave you Rambo.
In the movie genre, anything at all that isn't Sylvester Stallone.
Oh.
It would help.
Oh, the
me.
matchstick.
It would.
Cobretti.
Marion Cobretti.
Amin, I wanted to ask you about whether or not you have in your history as a front office executive any experience with doing anything like what it is that happened with Mike Evans and the Bucks and incentives and money.
Yeah, we do have a story. When I was in Phoenix, Grant Hill had an incentive, but it wasn't a team incentive. It was a sneaker incentive. So a lot of people don't know this. The sneaker companies will often have incentives in the deals. And for Grant Hill, I think it was to average like 15 points a game or whatever it was. And he needed 25 in the last game of the season. And Grant at this point, he's an elder statesman. He's a role player. He's averaging probably not like just shy of 15, but it usually comes on, just getting shots here and there. But we knew we got to get Grant his money. So we force-fed him the ball. He shot more times in that last game than he had shot in the entire season. He shot more free throws than he shot, I think, in his entire tenure as a Phoenix Sun. And when he hit the number, the bench went crazy, and the announcers didn't know why. The Suns bench is really, up in arms over Grant Hill making that layup or making that free throw or whatever.
Up in arms is a negative.
Or whatever.
Yeah, up in arms is not used correctly there. Why are people up in arms? Can you tell me, like, what up? Is it just
Arms, like,
so they are raising guns over their heads up in arms. That's I don't know what
that would be up in guns.
Yeah.
It
It originated in the late 1500s as
Thank you.
reference to an armed rebellion. So yes.
Okay, but is it physically running into a place with bayonets over your head because you're
that noise?
Yes, you're attacking in riot form. With a bayonet over your head, somebody who can shoot you because you're using your gun to stab them.
Billy's here.
There's always follow-ups, Jeremy.
I do have follow-ups just because, forgive me for loving the origins of things. Up in arms it was used incorrectly there.
It was.
No, it was used incorrectly. It was simply used incorrectly. It's not something that can be disputed. I wanted to talk to the group about something that that feels incorrect to me, and I wonder if anyone cares. Rex Ryan being recycled in an interview by the Jets is amazing for a number of reasons, not the least of which is they don't need to interview him. They know how terrible he is.
Wait a second. We went to back-to-back AFC championship games.
But they know what he is.
Let's get a damn snack.
All right, they know how great he is. Fine, whatever. The interview's unnecessary. Least offensive of these two interviews. John Gruden, his name being mentioned near anything should cause shame eternally for everyone involved with that league. The idea that can be recycled into something after what that has done publicly just because he smirks and is charming, and we're in a different America than we were when he was the highest paid face and voice at ESPN on behalf of football enthusiasm. I understand that Barstool resuscitated him. I don't blame second chances. I think everybody should actually get second chances. But that guy with those crimes going right to the top of the food chain again for the top of the jobs, because the way to do all this stuff, whether it's Louis Riddick over here or whether it's Rex Ryan, is just be on television. One of these football teams will think that's leadership enough. Just be around talking about football, and we'll figure out how to make it a leader. And it doesn't matter how much garbage is on the resume.
I love the Jets having the guy that they fired as their GM, Mike Tannenbaum, heading up this search, and
it's so good.
All the fired guys end up at ESPN, and that's who the Jets are going to hire to run their organization.
Yeah, Mike Tannenbaum. Where did he work? Also, ESPN. Is he just calling everybody what to work with?
So bad. It's so lazy, man.
But then what you're seeing is exactly what you described earlier, which is billionaires have toys. You think these people are sophisticated and discerning? No, they're just like, oh, he sounds pretty smart. Get him on here. Oh, there's a carousel going.
I can't believe the funniest coaching news that I saw yesterday was Ben Johnson just being like, Jets, I'm good. Don't need an interview. No thanks.
Seems like the origin of Up in Arms really dates back to 1297 when they first started using arms as a means for armor. In 1430, a coat of arms is first detected as something to refer to people bringing into a space with armor, but eventually, and it's unclear, that split changes somewhere in the late 1400s to late 1500s to turn arms specifically into up in arms with weaponry as opposed to armor.
Chris Cody, you are excellent at the carousel.
Thank you, Dan.
Billy, you
the
stink.
First compliment you've given me in 8 months.
Billy, you stink at the carousel. You are you don't participate in
That's
the carousel.
no.
Your carousel energy
It
stinks.
hurts my neck.
Yeah. I was listening to all that information about arms.
Dan, to be fair, in every carousel, there's one that doesn't work.
Yes.
Right.
That's
Okay, but we always
Thank you.
have 4
I'm
or
the
5
bench.
that don't work around here.
I'm the bench on the carousel.
Damn bench.
According to phrases.org,
Oh my God,
the
enough.
use of up in arms has significantly decreased in the last 20 years. It was at its peak in printed material in the mid-1990s, but since then it's only decreased.
Amin is the only one who's using it incorrectly these days in a way to get commentary.
He's the only one using
and
it.
communication
Bringing it back.
off the ground, but incorrectly
With
used.
a new twist.
The bench is up in arms.
It just didn't make sense. It was the wrong phrase to use. Thank you for all your contributions to the program. I wanted to ask how it is. Mike Ryan is not here, and there are some judgment things that I don't know about in terms of things that I can talk about or cannot talk about as it relates to the Fox Sports lawsuit, as it relates to our negotiations with DraftKings, and as it relates to this project that we're doing with Dan Patrick in New Orleans that I don't know if it's already sold out. We just announced it
Dan
yesterday.
versus Dan.
Yeah.
It should be Dan versus Dan. We erred in not naming it that. We did Dan interviews Dan, and that was a mistake.
This is a project, or I mean,
Well, I'm going to explain to you what it means to me.
diorama or
Thank
something
you,
like that?
thank you for asking. I appreciate you allowing me to promote this. You could go to ticketweb.com and you could search Le Batard. But I'd like to explain to people why it is that I want to do this, because it's going to be a cool night for either fans of this show or fans of Dan Patrick's show. But no one in the history of the industry has influenced this show more in terms of producers talking and just giving us permission to do some things that we have done with our career. And I really admire a man who, the second part of his career is more impressive to me than the first part of his career. In the first part of his career, he changed all of sports television because he didn't think that he could do the thing of creating a community of people who would listen to him after he left ESPN to make that radio show. And he's got a community of among like 5 to 10 communities anywhere in the history of this medium that in sports is an economy because he left ESPN so successfully and has always been fair while doing it. Like that last part, Stugotz. Like hasn't had to cheapen himself at any turn with any hot take aggregations or anything of the kind. And when I talk about Pat Riley or Dan Patrick or people who have conquered the industry, and I tell you, my admiration is so profound for them, I don't give it in a way that's loose. And the reason that I give it is because somebody, I believe, merits it with a career that is bigger and better than most I've ever seen.
You got to save some of this for the project. I mean,
I will have plenty to tell people.
Dan
and
Patrick's eulogy. Come see it.
Well, maybe we'll introduce Michael Kay there as well to do Michael Kay's eulogy while we're there as well. I simply want, look, man, I am so. Let me explain something to you here about watching, for example, Tony Reali at ESPN create an empire of voices and a community when it's really hard to do that, even if for 25 years you're in the middle of a daily sports lineup. That show is going to disappear in 6 months the way Bryant Gumbel's show disappeared after 29 years instead of 30, doing some of the best stuff that's available because the corporations are chewing everything up and eating everything up so that Tony Reali, I don't know what he's going to do in 6 months, but it's not going to be help other sports writers be great at television on a show that creates community for listeners that are lasting. And so I want to admire these people while they're still alive because we're killing some of the things that made me and us respect them.
I mean, Tony Reali is alive, right? He's young, he's healthy, he's got more career left, right? He's not at that phase yet where he's going to help the younger people out. To your point, I was shocked upon meeting Dan Patrick how helpful he was willing to be to me and to many, many others. He is a great human being.
The part I'm talking about, though, is being all of the things I'm saying and fair. Yeah. Look, you can have whatever your issues are with Oberman on whatever side you are, or me or anybody because of whatever your divisions are. Do you know how hard it is to make it in this business for that long, being a pillar of professionalism who doesn't say shitty things about people? You can
He's fair.
You can think what you want about Skip Bayless, Jim Rome, however it is people do what they do. To do that fair, the degree of difficulty is damn near impossible.
Can I play devil's advocate? He stars in a lot of shitty Adam Sandler movies.
It's one of the perks.
I mean,
also some good ones.
Yeah.
Which ones were good?
Adam Sandler gets like a lot of hate that I think is envy. I think if you made a
course.
movie, it would not be as good as Adam Sandler's.
First of all, yes, it would. But
No,
second
it would
of all,
not.
Second of all, absolutely.
Amin.
Absolutely.
You could not make a movie better
Give
than
me the
Adam
budget.
Sandler.
I swear to God.
No, you
I've got
could not.
3 of them ready to go right now.
I
What are they
appreciate the
about?
confidence, but you're wrong.
Not giving it away. Not giving it away for free. Give me this Adam Sandler budget, number 1. Number 2, envy? Of course. Someone hands me hundreds of millions of dollars, and all I do is invite my friends to go to Puerto Rico to have fun, and then I fart, and then I cast my wife and my kids and everything, and then they hand me more hundreds of millions of dollars. Who doesn't want that? Of course I'm envious.
For what it's worth, it's tough to make a movie worse than Jack and Jill, so Amin might have a point.
That's fair.
Dunkachino.
Jack and Jill.
That was real. He got Al Pacino, one of the greatest actors in the history of the medium, to do a fake Dunkin' Donuts commercial where he sang and danced about the Dunkachino.
Are you saying Sandler is overrated? What are you saying? He's not funny?
I'm saying Dan Patrick is a hack for doing Sandler movies.
Dan Hacktrick.
And you know what, Dan? I've decided right now, I'm coming to New Orleans. And I'm coming in this Dan versus Dan thing.
It's Dan and Dan, or Dan
weird,
coming to
interviews Dan. Thank you. I appreciate you
Reality
coming
gonna
to
be
it.
there?
I love having the payoff. And Amin will be there.
Well,
And
I'll be there to tell Dan Patrick to his face.
that he's a fraud.
Not a fraud, because all the things you said are accurate. He is a trailblazer. They used to say when you leave ESPN, it's over for you. And Dan Patrick was a guy that showed everybody, like, no, it's not. There's life and lucrative things on the other side of that. But he is a hack for doing all those Adam Sandler movies. Absolutely.
Didn't he play Dick from Dick's Sporting Goods in a movie?
Oh, come on.
That's awesome.
Can I play for you guys some sound here? And I know we're going to do I really will need help from the audience, from you guys, because I have assigned some work to Jeremy and others to cover the Jimmy Butler stuff even more than we are presently covering it. And I want to know where the right side of talking about all of this too much is, even though it's in our wheelhouse. When I talk about respecting people with long legacies, and when I talk about how much the media has changed, Stugotz, you would understand why a Pat Riley being eviscerated by people like Gilbert Arenas and Paul Pierce. And I really don't say that as indictment of either Gilbert Arenas or Paul Pierce. I say it just to say that both of those human beings will say just about anything to make noise, and they probably, even though Paul Pierce is a Hall of Famer, they probably are a little looser with disrespect towards someone like Pat Riley than the average commentator, because they're famous for saying outlandish things. So let's hear from Gilbert Arenas here, and I want to get Amin's thoughts on how fair this is or isn't, because only Gilbert Arenas and Paul Pierce will do things like this.
We are Showtime. You're nobody. He was right. Yeah. He moved to the Knicks. He ain't doing nothing. He moved to Miami. right? He got Shaq. I mean, he got Dwayne Wade. He came and got Shaquille O'Neal. Then they brung a whole bunch of other players to help win. You can't pretend you that guy. It's them.
Listen.
You're not bigger than them.
Yeah.
You're pretending you are.
Did you see the interview?
They left. LeBron came. They won a championship. You can't pretend you're bigger than LeBron. LeBron leaves, this crashes. Jimmy Butler comes. He gets you to the championship. If he tells you, bring me one more star, bring him one more star. Because if he can get you to the championship with this, bring me one more star, I got you. So for you to pretend that you are the Heat culture and you can do this, you're lying.
Yeah.
Because when he leaves, nobody's coming there.
I got these.
Nobody's coming to. You got South Beach in your favor.
Yes.
And you treat South Beach like it's a prison.
Gilbert is speaking from the truest point of view of a player. That's what he's giving is the player perspective, which isn't invalid, but it also is not the whole picture, which is why when I see Amazon announce, hey, this is our broadcast team, Taylor Rooks, Dirk Nowitzki, Blake Griffin. Great names. Great names. All funny people, all smart people, but you need another perspective in there. You need another perspective in there, whether it's a coach, whether it's a former front office person, whoever, because what a lot of shows, studio shows are doing are leaning more and more on just the players.
Billy says you're applying for work.
Sounds like you're applying for a job right now.
You're sitting here
you know what you
saying-
need? Me.
That's what it sounds like.
I didn't say that. I was just talking about.
It sounded like you were saying that.
It sounded like those perspectives are fine, but what you need is the right perspective, my perspective.
You need a balanced diet. You can't just have lima beans.
But why would Pat Riley, at this age, or at any age for that matter, care what Gilbert Arenas has to say about him? Pat Riley has had a Hall of Fame career. Pat Riley is considered one of the two. He's on the Mount Rushmore of NBA head coaches.
Do you think?
What does he care what Gilbert Arenas and a bunch of guys who didn't win anything have to say about him?
Right, so I ask you this question sincerely. Do you think immortals are totally immune to insecurity, especially as mortality approaches? I'm asking you this question sincerely. Do you believe there's an age that people are so confident that they never doubt anything?
I think they will doubt their entire lives when it's coming from someone they perceive to be equal. If that was Phil Jackson saying that or someone like that.
There is no equal.
Okay, but it would hit home more with Riley than Gilbert Arenas, who's just saying
But there is no equal, and Pat Riley is going through something that has no precedent in. I mean, you said Gilbert dismissed what he did in New York. Shit, dude, New York hasn't gotten back there since. New York has been telling me how good they are.
Right.
Like, no, they're not. They haven't gotten back there since. Like,
they made it to the finals.
They were not as good at any point over the last 20 years, living off of what Riley did with them as a stop between places where he did it. Gilbert Arenas, like, look, Paul Pierce's resume is fine. It ain't Riley's resume. Gilbert Arenas is sure as shit isn't.
But, like, look, Gilbert, like I said, he's speaking from a player's perspective. Also, Gilbert knows how to put a little extra on it, right? Paul knows how to put a little extra on it. And also, Paul is dancing on the grave of, for him, the organization that represents the biggest rival, right? When he looks across the way, it's like, that's the team I really, really didn't like. So, obviously, these guys are going to do their thing in terms of a little dance on the grave of, or the perceived grave of the Miami Heat. But I'm with Stugotz. I don't think Gilbert Arenas saying that stuff bothers Pat Riley. I think
Riley laughs at that.
You think he's tuning in?
I don't think he has any way of knowing how to even find that. I think, respectfully to all parties involved.
I think when Dan Le Batard says some stuff, now that's different.
That's on at the arena.
Exactly.
This is an awkward transition. You will forgive me for the awkwardness of this transition. It seems at every point, we've blessedly gotten away from this over the last couple of months. Real life intrudes on whatever nonsense it is we're doing around here to remind you that a whole lot of people are in peril for a whole lot of reasons and subjects that feel a little apocalyptic. So David Wallace-Wells is joining us now, and he's an opinion writer for the New York Times. He's helped us ruin this show before. He's also the author of a best-selling book called The Uninhabitable Earth.
And these fires that have swept in with wind over Santa Monica, a place that I did not know that there could be fires, have created such atrocity that firefighters can't get in because cars are being abandoned. And we're seeing some stuff in America that it feels like we have not seen before. So, David, thank you for joining us. And can you just take me through this horror, when it's going to stop? Because it seems to me that when it comes to climate-related stuff, all of this is only going to get worse. We don't have an ability to stop some things that are coming that keep getting more kinds of worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're tempted often to call events like this a new normal, and even that is difficult for us to really wrap our heads around. If this kind of disaster that we're seeing in the Pacific Palisades, especially, but across Los Angeles, becomes a new normal, that really changes the way that we might think about life in that part of the country. But of course, climate change means higher temperatures down the line. Inevitably, that will be happening for at least several decades, probably for as much as the rest of the century. And that means that fire risk will be growing too. We don't know exactly how much, but much worse than it is today. And unfortunately, all the things that we might be doing to kind of navigate that new landscape, making better housing policies so that we're not building homes in the path of fire, as we have with literally tens of millions of homes in the American West being built directly in high fire risk areas over the last couple of decades. We're also not doing enough to thin our forests and prevent fuel buildup, which means that when fires happen, they can be incredibly destructive. But we are also now in a new fire regime, in part because of the new climate conditions we're living under, whereby it's no longer just the trees or the brush that we need to worry about. Homes themselves have become flammable to an extent that they were not before, and can themselves become fuel. So when you think about what is effectively an urban, or maybe you could generously call it semi-suburban development like we're seeing in the Pacific Palisades, it's no longer enough to look down a street and say, oh, there's all that pavement, there's all that concrete, there are all these modern homes. Those homes themselves can be what carries the fire from place to place. And that's exactly what we've seen in Los Angeles over the last 12 to 24 hours, as this historic wind event swept in, winds blowing 100 miles an hour, carrying embers miles farther from where the flames were actually burning. And in those conditions, whenever an ignition starts, it's lights out. I mean, it is literally the case that CAL FIRE has never been able to stop a fire burning with wind, powered by winds like these. So when winds are blowing like this, they can try to protect some structures. They tried to protect the fire department in Palisades last night. But generally speaking, all we can do is wait for the winds to change. And even though almost all of Pacific Palisades has been burned through already, the footage is incredible, dreary, bleak, gray, mercifully just a couple of deaths, but nevertheless, the neighborhood is devastated. We can expect something like 24 to 36 more hours of this wind event in California continuing, which means we may see other fires in the Los Angeles basin as destructive as this one emerge. And we're probably going to see continued devastation and destruction in the places where fires have already ignited. So it's a dark day in Los Angeles. And it's a reminder that we are, as you say, kind of careening into a quite terrifying climate future.
Explain, please, and I know I ruin the show every time that I do this, but I think people need to be shouting from burning mountaintops about what it is that we're doing to the earth as we do things like, make polio great again, and we deny that there is no climate crisis. That's the energy secretary, and oil industry CEO is saying there is no climate crisis. Can you please explain to me, in California, the precedent for what we're witnessing, because there can be a coldness from people listening to this until it's their home burning up and they lose all their stuff, because I don't know if it's hundreds of miles, but many, many miles from where people were expecting fire, there is now fire.
7 of the 8 largest wildfires in California history have burned since the year 2000. If you look at the modern history of wildfire, which stretches back more than a century now, really detailed statistics, we are in an entirely different fire regime than we have ever been in before. The same can be said for Canada, where they had completely off the charts fire season last year. So much fire burning in Canada that you could fit literally half the world's countries inside the burn scar of Canadian fires just from last year. In many parts of the world, not just these fire hotspots, but everywhere in the northern latitudes where we are at risk of fire, we are intensifying that risk by heating the planet, which, among other things, dries out fuel, evaporates water from the landscape, and turns, sorry, I said dries out fuel. That's the way that fire people talk. They talk about trees as fuel. And that language shift is the result of climate change. We would not be talking about trees as fuel if those trees were full of water and full of life. Instead, long droughts and even, a crazy waterfall followed by a brief drought can turn huge portions of the landscape into essentially a pile of tinder. And that is not just true across California, it's true across the American West, it's true across the Canadian forest, it's true across the Russian forest, increasingly it's true across the Mediterranean. We're seeing just an entirely new kind and new scale of fire, burning much more rapidly, much hotter, so hot that sometimes it can turn the silica in soil in California into glass just by burning through. And as I said earlier, so hot that it turns these homes, which used to be kind of natural fire breaks, into the equivalent of new fuel. All of that's happening because the planet's getting hotter. It's actually getting hotter at a faster rate now than it has ever gotten in the history of climate change and in the history of the planet. We are burning more fossil fuel and producing more carbon emissions today in 2024 than we ever have in the history of the world, which means to the extent that we think we have been hearing about climate change for a few decades, we're starting this green transition. That is true. But as we're continuing to roll out solar and wind and buy EVs and all the rest of it, we are still burning more fossil fuel every year than we have every year in the past, which means every year so far in my lifetime has been more destructive for the future of the planet's climate than every year before it. And in the US, we are now producing more oil and gas than we've ever produced in the history of the country and more than any other country in the world. As recently as 2016, we were exporting no natural gas and no oil. And now we are the world's #1 producer of both of those things, a bigger petrostate than all the petrostates we name call in the Middle East. And we look around when a fire burns through our homes in California. And unfortunately, I've been seeing on social media, at least, a lot of people trying to point the finger at government, local government, state government. I think this is a bigger problem. I mean, I think there are things that local policymakers can do. As I was saying earlier, changing housing, zoning policy, all the rest of it, being more prepared, spending more on preparedness and fuel thinning, also on the actual firefighting side of it. Unfortunately, 30% of California firefighters are actually inmates in California prisons that are paid something like $1 a day to fight in these fires. So we're not taking seriously enough the threat of them to properly fund professional firefighting operations. But beyond that, we are obviously dealing with a much larger, in some sense, existential threat and challenge, which is not the matter of individual small-scale policy choices or the behavior or leadership of this or that governor or mayor. We are living in an entirely new climactic regime, which presents new challenges, which humans can navigate, and we will survive. It won't be the end of us, but it represents a totally different risk landscape than anyone who has ever lived on the planet before has faced. Even those of us who lived in California and think, oh, we've had fires in the past, there's cultural memory of fires. That is all true. The fires we are facing now, especially in California, are much larger and more destructive than we've ever seen before. And that's especially true when we talk about, as I was saying earlier, this new regime. It's called the return of the urban firestorm. We really used to think that homes only burned in like the 19th century in Chicago or in the 17th century in London. We didn't think that modern homes were susceptible to this kind of destruction. And the new climate conditions, in addition to the new zoning policy that has pushed so many of these homes into the wildland-urban interface, into the path of fire, we are now living in a new era in which we can no longer take comfort in homes as fire breaks and have to treat them as potentially flammable fuel as well.
I want to congratulate this man for being the most long-winded guest in the history of the show, not named Bill Walton. His information is extraordinary and exceptional, and I understand why he's manic. He's here to tell you that the world is ending, and he's got a lot of facts on the situation, and nobody's listening, so it's a little alarming. But because he has hijacked the program with all of his good information, I'm going to put him in the picture-in-picture. I'm going to do a little bit of a palate cleanser here, and I'm going to bring in Amin to do a bit of a victory lap, a sponsored segment from another room, where I get Amin Al-Hassan to do a victory lap because I've got to punish David Wallace-Wells for ruining the show with his fire talk, because there's no disputing most long-winded guests in the history of our show. No,
Yeah,
it's just Bill Walton. Bill Walton's number 1, and now it's David Wallace-Wells is number 2.
Yeah, but
I'm proud to be number 2 to Tim. I mean,
yeah, you're punishing a guy though. You asked him to come on.
I did.
I mean,
that is
right,
correct.
yeah.
I need to punish him right now, though. I'm going to. And I understand. I just told you. I understand why he's crazed because he's like telling everybody, "Hey, these fires, they seem bad. Like, listen to me," and nobody's listening. And so, like, of course. But I mean, what are you doing a victory lap on?
Well, Dan, first and foremost, I want to let everybody know that I am using my Peloton app right here, and I'm going to be doing a morning meditation. You know what?
That's not the spirit of
How
it.
about you use the Peloton?
That's not the spirit of the
Who's your
victory
instructor?
lap.
Because here it's
Is it
Ms. Shaw.
Aditi?
It's Aditi Shah, absolutely.
Ooh,
And
10
so-
minutes? Doing
and
this
so,
morning in my car. Not safe.
Dan, the important thing to realize here for everybody who's curious about Peloton, it's not just cycling and jumping up and
This
down.
is the laziest thing I've
It's
ever seen.
also other things like meditation. So I'm going to start the meditation, and I'm going to meditate.
This is not the point of the victory lap. The victory lap is for you to be winded and for us to get the payoff of your winded. It's not for you to do a meditation during the world is on fire.
Dan, you cannot shake me outside of my energy zone. I'm meditating right now, thinking about Will Manso and the apology he owes
Look,
me.
you're supposed
It
to be.
appears you punished all of us.
You're supposed to be winded. The other guy's long-winded. I'm going to let both of you go now because you're not doing the show I want to do. Thank you for being on with us. I appreciate both of you. David Wallace-Wells, any last words? And I mean that literally.
don't look away from the damage. See it clearly, and try to take action.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
How do you feel about Dan's treatment of you, David? Just be honest for a second.
I'm proud to be ranked number 2 behind Bill Walton on any ranking. I mean, what can I say?
David, your information is great. It's just I'm perpetually wrestling with how much people don't want to hear it, even though it's burning right in their face. Like, I can't even imagine. Stugotz wanted to ask you whether we have any hope. I don't know how it is you don't feel hopeless as someone who has more information on this than any of us have and know that people aren't paying enough attention to this.
Well, when I see that only 2 people died in these fires, I mean, it's horrifying and tragic that those are 2 deaths, but we've seen fires like this over the last few years that killed dozens. And so I think we are learning something about how to evacuate, how seriously to take the threat at the local level. We're not doing enough to prevent the fires from happening in the first place, but maybe we are adjusting to that new reality in a way that will allow us, tragic as it is, horrifying as it is, to see this as a manageable future full of fire threat, but also a lot of human resilience.
David, thank you. Put him in picture again here for us and just make him sit there and be punished and watch Amin end the segment the way that this segment needs to end, which is the world's laziest victory lap. Amin, go ahead and finish the segment with all of your good work, please.
Dan, first of all, thank you, David. That was very informative. We need more people like you speaking truth to power and not being harassed and berated by Dan Le Batard. Speaking of harassed and berated by Dan Le Batard, hi, my name's Amin. We haven't met yet. Deep breaths, because meditation in the morning is so important, especially when you're focused on demanding an apology from Will Manso. 2 years ago, Will Manso was offended when I said the Boston Celtics were a way more talented team, and that the Heat had to overachieve and be perfect at every part of the execution in order to win, which was, at the time, for me, a compliment to the Miami Heat and being able to execute. But somehow Will Manso took offense, and he berated me like Dan Le Batard does, because he said, if they're so talented, why didn't they win? And I said, sometimes it's not just about talent to win.
He's fallen asleep. David has fallen asleep.
He's meditating.
And the mantra is like, and I feel like the mantra, it feels to me, is a little offensive. Like, it feels to me like you're not respecting the mantra enough.
I want the knife. Please.
Fine.
Did you just make a Golden Child reference?
Yes, Dan.
This meditation is brought to you by Peloton. Find your push, find your power with Peloton.
No, it's not a meditation. It's supposed to be a victory lap. The payoff is he's winded while celebrating that he got something right.
Dan, if it comes to angering you or angering the sponsor, I'd rather anger you.
David, thank you for being on with us.
We're sorry.
You are always welcome here. We need more people like you. Thank you, sir.
I concur.
Thanks for having me.
I don't think David Wallace-Wells is happy.
I don't know. You guys tell me. Billy's shaking his
What do you
head.
think bothers him more, the fires or this show?
You guys, I don't think he was bothered. I think he No, I don't think he was bothered. I think he understands the tension involved with telling people stuff they don't want to hear, but especially doing so long-winded in a way that even further interrupts the show.
It's that part. That part.
He
The long-winded part. He could not have left the Zoom quicker if that's any kind of
From personal experience, I can tell you it doesn't feel good when you tell someone they're long-winded.
To be fair, Dan, you kind of saved it when you called them, or you compared him to Bill Walton. I think he really appreciated that. I wonder if he knows Bill Walton is no longer with us. Is that a $50 fine for David? I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Dan.
No, Dan knows. Dan, you knew, right?
The Venmo bucket fine chart is $1 per mistake, $2 cough and phlegm, $3 pestering, $5 tone, $7 not listening, $10 phone interruption, $50 if you kill somebody. Juju reminds me, as he is wearing the Lamar Jackson gear, that I find myself with a rooting interest that is afraid this weekend, in that I do not want Lamar Jackson to fail because the Pittsburgh Steelers, maximum Pittsburgh Steelers him, and then I have to hear another offseason of how Lamar Jackson isn't that great because the Pittsburgh Steelers can do something against Lamar Jackson that no other team in the sport can do, and then all of a sudden Lamar Jackson is bad in the playoffs again. So, Juju, where are you? And thank you for joining us. Where are you on all of this? Because we've heard a whole season of who's better, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, and it seems like Lamar Jackson is better, even though your guy Josh Allen is pretty damn great. And here we go into a playoff game where no one would be surprised if Lamar Jackson loses and they score 13 points after having the best rushing offense anyone has ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, thank you for having me. Let me tilt my camera down, get a little juicier. I think if you are American, if you are just a grown-up person and you don't like Lamar Jackson, you need to, get over yourself. So it's like, I definitely have no problem with my brother Lamar. Lamar is representation as far as I'm concerned. Like, Lamar is the hood of America, out there doing it. Look at him go. I don't know if you guys watch the Hard Knocks. It's like, bro, he speaks the lingo of just every street cat in America. So I have uncontrollable love for Lamar Jackson. And you know how I feel about Josh. So I think that the stats that Lamar has put up this year, phenomenal, as well as Josh. But we got to take into account sometimes that it's a big advantage to be able to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. You feel me? It's a big advantage to be able to throw the ball to a Pro Bowl receiver in Zay Flowers, a legendary tight end in Mark Andrews. That defense is, you can rely on the defense to get you a couple wins during the season. Josh is devoid of all of that. So I think my brother Josh definitely may have the slight edge just because of the team aspect of it, you feel me? I think what Lamar Jackson is doing is nothing short of the offensive player of the year. But as far as the most valuable thing to a team, if you take Lamar from Baltimore, let's see what happens if you put in the backup, you feel me? But if you take Josh from Buffalo, cancel Christmas, tank it, go for the draft picks, you feel me? Respectfully.
That is real fandom right there, where Juju has to go against the guy who represents street credibility and blackness in favor of Josh Allen.
Nah, we ain't going to. Damn it, it sounds crazy when you say it like that, but I guess it's true.
You're just that big of a Bills fan that you want Josh Allen to be better than Lamar Jackson, even though I'm not sure Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson, but also Josh Allen might be the best quarterback I've ever seen.
Got you boxed in, Juju.
Josh Allen is not better than Lamar Jackson. I'll put that on wax. He's not better. I just think he's more valuable to the team, if you feel me.
I do. What do you have for us in the way of criticism? I feel like the show has turned a corner here over the last couple of months. It feels really good to be doing the show again. I'm sure Billy got a lot of applause today. What were the highlights on today's show?
Yes, everybody in the chat, the YouTube chat, salute to the whole YouTube chat, man. I can't remember everybody's name all the time, so I'm not going to say one or two, but the chat was loving it. A lot of people in the comments were saying, dog, The 2025 show hasn't missed yet, not one show. So salute to everybody in there involved, man. Feels good, and it's a great watch. Also, Dan, don't worry about Pat Riley being mad. Remember, you're a comedian. You were telling jokes.
I need to do that. You're right.
Right.
You're right.
You weren't up in arms. You were just shooting from the hip.
That's right. He's got a good idea, man. He's right about this. If you identify as a comedian, they're the only ones with carte blanche while they're saying they're going to get canceled. It's weird times, man. How much did we ruin the show with the fire talk? Juju, I'm worried about this. I don't know how to do real world stuff, and we're just screwing around.
Look, I want to get a peek at that Venmo fine box bucket because, sir, brother, what's his name? David Wallace-Wells fed you a tablespoon of your own medicine and you spit it out in front of everybody. You just got it on his shirt on the screen. Brother, from the makers and the creators of We're All Gonna Die, Dan Le Batard is tired of hearing about what's going on right now. A crisis that's actually happening. I've seen it all.
I'm not tired. I just wanted him to give me 10 answers to 10 questions as opposed to 2 answers to 2 questions. That's all. I wanted all of the same information, but I wanted to be a back and forth. So that's where I failed. My tone was shitty today. I own the first fine in the fine bucket, it's a $5 tone fine. What other observations and criticisms do you have today? You've had some very strong takes lately. Do you have any new super rule takes for us today?
Not any super rules just yet. You know, those come to me as they come. You feel me? I definitely think my brother David Samson was a little too harsh on the mean. He came in hot. You feel me? You don't tell somebody they look like a squirrel, like well, who's just dealing with trauma. It's just kind of mean. So I think we should ease off of each other's appearances, even though I am the creator of David Samson's glasses. Were a little spy-kiddish. You feel me? So I think we also didn't mention LeBron James turned back the clock last night. Holy moly. And dunked on Blake Lively. Not Blake. That would be crazy.
I want to watch that.
That would be crazy.
I want to watch that.
Very lively. He turned back the clock last night. Cooper Flag made a billboard last night. You feel me? Ice Tray, frigid in Utah. Oh my goodness. The NBA was on fire last night, and we didn't give too much attention to that because, you know what I mean? The show must go on. We got to keep the mafia off your back right now. So I understand what's going on.
That LeBron dunk actually made me emotional. I watched it and it gave me chills because I couldn't believe that at 40 years old, he just turned 40, that he's still doing this. That would be the best highlight on a lot of Hall of Fame players' careers, and he's doing it at 40.
Yeah,
hey, bro.
Beyond doing it at 40, just doing it, man.
Just doing it at all.
Just doing that. That's an incredible play. That was crazy. And like Juju said, you had Ice Trey Young hitting a half-court shot to win the game at Utah. And by the way, Zion Williamson was back last night, Juju. I know you like that 360 he had.
Yes, sir, bro. Like it was, the NBA was back in full swing last night for the true fans of it. You know, it's still a lot of 3-pointers. My Celtics played last night again, so it was a lot of tray ball shot. But at the same time, man, I think they've been rejuvenated. A lot of these messaging and stuff like that. These players be online. You feel me? These players see what's going on. Proof that everybody is bumping LiAngelo Ball's song right now. So they hear all the criticism, and I feel like they're giving a little bit more effort for us right now.
I listened to yesterday's show. You guys did not bring up Jello. Jello's in Rolling Loud now. He's on the lineup in Rolling Loud, and he's not like one of the little names either. He's high up on the list. There's a bidding war happening right now for him with the record labels. This is real. This has real traction and real momentum. And we haven't mentioned it one time.
Hashtag LeVar was right. But yesterday we had some polls. I'm going to cover a couple polls from yesterday we didn't get to. Should this year's Super Bowl winner be forced to play the Bengals for the trophy? 62% of the audience said yes.
It's a Stugotz. It is one of the things that makes God Bless Football the award-winning thing that it is. This is a Stugotz exclusive. The Bengals should get to play the Super Bowl winner for the championship.
Does the drug-sniffing dog at the airport always scare you? I know what I voted. But 69% of the audience I said yes. You feel me?
Nice. But before we move on off of that, I did have a question because it was kind of brought up a little bit yesterday, and then we kind of moved on. can the drug sniffing dogs also sniff bombs? Because I feel like those are two types of dogs.
I've always been I've always thought that they are separate.
Yeah,
There's bomb dogs, and then they're trained for like one area of expertise.
It's like going to college. You got to declare a major. These guys majored in drugs. These guys majored in bombs. They don't.
But sometimes you get a Deion Sanders dog that could catch baseballs and sniff bombs. So
And
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Can you put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show? We'll update that one tomorrow at Le Batard Show. Can the bomb-sniffing dog also smell for drugs, yes or no?
Yes, sir. Also, Dan Lanning, greatest coach in America, my ass. 82% of the audience says yes.
Last thing before we get you out of here, Juju, how many complaints? I really need genuine guidance on this. The Jimmy Butler stuff is obviously very interesting to me.
Yes.
What's too much Jimmy Butler stuff? Have we reached the point 3 days of Jimmy Butler stuff is too much Jimmy Butler stuff?
Let's just say there's a lot of people coming in with information, because we got to remember, some people live in Wisconsin. You know, some people live in Nevada. They don't care about Jimmy Butler as well or as much as we do. So they've been very vocal, but we don't need to highlight necessarily hate. I just know that it's there. One thing I did want to cover before we get out of here, though, is I heard video proof and evidence that you did say Tom Brady was washed on the show today.
Oh, that is so unfair. Yes. All right, Juju, I guess I have to take the L there. I thought the highlight of the show today was playing, and I always love this. It's one of my favorite things, playing for long-time participants in the show, sound that they had not heard that we are introducing to them. So I don't think we will get a bigger laugh today than the one we got from Amin falling down in the studio because Mickey Arison did indeed sound like he was at a Klan rally with the echoing auditorium sound of telling a whole lot of black people to please stay white.
Stay white. White.